Chapter 741. She had said so much nonsense. In the end, the illness was fake and she was frozen to death. Once this post was posted, the fans did not stop. Instead, they scolded even more fiercely. Some fans even tried to persuade Zhuo Wanshu to transfer to Dongqing after her contract expired. It was easy to compare similar companies. Look at how protective other companies are and how much they respect their old artists and employees. Then look at your company. Tiske. Su Yian laughed so hard that she almost choked. She felt that her company owed Hai-E Entertainment advertising fees. Every time, no matter what they did, the advertisements would come to their company. However, Hai-E Entertainment's actions were beyond Su Yian's expectations. She thought that since they were all in the same company, no matter how fierce the private fights were, they would not come out in the open. Now it seemed that she was naive. However, when Jinping's reputation, which she had tried so hard to salvage, was ruined even more, she was probably going to die from anger. When Jinping was indeed going crazy. Not long after Zhuo Wanshu left, she left as well. Before she left, the director told her to go back and study the script. He also threatened to delete her scenes if she did not do it properly the next day. When Jinping was so angry that she wanted to call Dou Tianyi to complain. However, she could not get through. In the end, she was so angry that she fell asleep. The next morning, as soon as she entered the set, she felt that everyone was looking at her strangely. Even her assistant looked like she wanted to say something. When Jinping was confused. She thought that it was because of yesterday's consecutive NGs until her agent came to her and told her what happened last night. When Jinping's first reaction was to ask Dou Tianyi for help. However, before she could make the call, she received news that Zhuo Wanshu had quit due to illness. When Jinping's heart suddenly thumped, she finally sensed that something was wrong. Zhuo Wanshu was an artist under Hai-E Entertainment. Hai-E Entertainment was the biggest investor in this drama. Without Hai-E Entertainment's permission, she would not have dared to quit the set. She began to call Dou Tianyi like a madwoman, but either no one picked up or the line was busy. When Jinping's heart gradually turned cold. She did not understand why Dou Tianyi would suddenly give her the cold shoulder. Or rather, even she didn't notice that the other party had started to neglect her at some point. When Jinping wasn't the only one who had doubts. Many of Hai Art's internal staff also had the same doubts. When the head of the public relations department, Pu Yi, found out that Zhuo Wanshu wanted to terminate her contract with the production team, he immediately reported this matter to the people around the big boss. She originally thought that the other party would force Zhuo Wanshu to stay on the set and continue filming. She also thought that the other party would unconditionally clarify the rumors about Wen Jinping. Unexpectedly, the response he received was, "Just do the necessary PR. Also appease Zhuo Wanshu well." Appease Zhuo Wanshu? The minister almost thought that he had misheard. Was he trying to pacify Zhuo Wanshu and not Wen Jinping? So, who was the big boss's little lover? The head of the public relations department had been in Hai-E Entertainment for many years and had experienced countless storms and waves. This was the first time he was confused. And the main culprit of all this really did not have the slightest interest in Wen Jinping. Not this. Dou Tianyi threw a stack of documents on the table and rubbed his temples to relieve the discomfort in his head. Not this either? Liu pulled the stack of documents in front of her and flipped through a few pages. Her face was serious and distressed. Chapter 742. A few months ago, Dou Tianyi bought a bowl of Buddha jumps over the wall from a lucky fan in Su Yian's live broadcast room at a high price. He enjoyed the delicacy alone under Liu's disapproving gaze. He thought that what awaited him would be an uncomfortable allergic reaction and the familiar shock. He did not expect that after eating it, he would not have any symptoms of discomfort. Although the 1-month relapse still came as scheduled, the symptoms were much better. However, the effect of the soup seemed to last only for a month. In the second month, Dou Tianyi's illness returned to its original state. Even so, this discovery still surprised Dou Tianyi. His intuition told him that this soup was different from the dishes that Wen Jinping had made for him during this time. This streamer, who was hidden behind the screen, could do much more for him than Wen Jinping. Since then, Dou Tianyi issued the most urgent order to all the employees in charge of intelligence work. They were to find the streamer at all costs. At that time, Liu naively thought that as long as Dou Tianyi was determined to investigate, he would be able to find her very quickly. As a result, the investigation took several months. They investigated several people, but none of them were the streamer. Why isn't even this one? At first, the investigation went very smoothly. Dou Tianyi's face darkened slightly. We've been deceived. Deceived? Deceiving others, deliberately mystifying things. Liu was not stupid. After hearing what he said, she instantly thought of something. Do you mean that someone deliberately set up a smokescreen to confuse us so that we won't find the real streamer? Do Channy did not speak. He bent his finger and knocked on the wheelchair handle. After a long while, he pointed at a magnified picture on the screen. Get someone to check this ring. Ring? Liu took a closer look and found that it was a somewhat blurry magnified picture of a human hand. In the middle of the picture was a beautiful diamond ring on the ring finger. She's wearing it on her hand. It went without saying who Do Tianyi was referring to. This ring was naturally Su Yiyan and Huo Qinhuan's wedding ring. When they had just gotten married, Su Yiyan had worn this ring for a few live broadcasts. Later on, perhaps she felt that it was inconvenient to bring it along to cook, and she was also worried that it would fall off when she was washing things, so she put it away and rarely appeared again. Do Tianyi had been watching all the recordings of Su Yiyan's live stream during this period of time, so it was not strange for him to notice this. The style and workmanship of this ring are rare. She and her husband should have some background and not be short of money. It's very likely that the wedding ring was specially custom-made. You can check in this direction. Liu's eyes lit up. Alright, I'll check it out right away. Su Yiyan, who didn't know that she had been targeted because of a wedding ring, happily finished eating Wen Jingping's melon. She listened to the system's real-time broadcast with satisfaction. The snatching golden finger halo had increased by a lot. Together with the previous rewards, it had increased to 20%. She believed that when Wen Jingping's drama started airing and its reputation suffered a setback, this progress would usher in a small explosion. She just had to wait patiently. Young madam, there's an email for you. Email? Who sent it? It's not written here. It seems to be an anonymous email. An anonymous email? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and glanced at the email brought in by the bodyguard. From its appearance, it seemed to be something like a document card. It was quite thick, so it shouldn't be dangerous. Su Yiyan took the email and tore it open. When she flipped through the contents, her pupils suddenly shrank. Chapter 743. This email contained a bunch of photos of the two of them smiling and talking face to face, holding hands and sitting together drinking coffee. Su Yiyan scrolled down expressionlessly and even found a high-definition photo of little Kanji at her full moon ceremony. In the photo, Huo Qinhuan was holding the juice that Su Yiyan wanted to drink that day. She was standing face to face with another woman, and behind them was a light blue ocean background. Needless to say, it was quite beautiful. Tisk. Su Yiyan stared at the photo for a long time and nodded approvingly. It's not bad. The pale-faced bodyguards at the side. Was young madam so angry that she became stupid? These photos were obviously sent deliberately to anger her. Why was she admiring them? Was Su Yiyan angry? Of course she was angry. The moment she saw these photos she didn't know why, but her first reaction was that a few months ago, Huo Qinhuan had asked someone to send the evidence of Huo Qihan's infidelity to Mrs. Hua in the form of an email. How long had it been and someone was using the same method to deal with her? But on second thought, although they were similar, comparing Huo Qinhuan to Huo Qihan was an insult to her man. Huo Qihan was real and her man Su Yiyan had absolute confidence that he would never cheat. These photos seemed to be a lot, but in fact some were real and some were fake. Except for the one at the full moon ceremony, there were a few that were real. The rest were either composite or misplaced. It was fine if such things could fool laymen, but if they wanted to fool her, they were still not good enough. To put it bluntly, they were all thousand-year-old foxes. Why were they playing games with her? The reason why Su Yiyan was angry was not that her man was suspected of cheating, but that some people coveted her man and dared to put their claws on her. The photos were taken when the child was 1 month old. They waited for so long before sending them with this pile of photos. Wasn't it because they knew that she was in the advanced stages of her pregnancy and was emotionally unstable? Pregnant women were more sensitive, and seeing a pile of suspected intimate photos of her husband with another woman. No matter how much she usually trusted her husband, she would definitely have some doubts in her heart right now. Her initial suspicion would instantly expand to 80, 90, or even 10%. Under anger and grievance, it was inevitable that she would clash with her husband. The quarrel between the two of them was secondary. If they were impulsive and hurt the child in her belly, it might be a matter of 2 lives. After understanding this, Su Yiyan narrowed his eyes dangerously and made a video call. Why, young madam? Yu Zian had never expected that Su Yiyan would suddenly take the initiative to look for him. He was so excited that he couldn't even speak properly. Do I eat people? Why do you seem to be afraid of me? After saying that, he seemed to have thought of something and laughed softly. Even if I eat people, I definitely won't eat someone like you. Don't worry. You Zian? Oh my God, young madam was speaking dirty words. Was this the distortion of human nature or the decay of morals? No, no, no. I'm not afraid of you. I was just agitated when I received your video call. Yes, agitated. It wasn't that Su Yiyan hadn't contacted them before, but under normal circumstances she would either call them or send them a message. This was the first time she had sent a video call. Are you done being agitated now? I'm done being agitated. Su Yiyan almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. That's good. I'm looking for you today because I have something to ask you. I hope you can answer me truthfully. Chapter 744. Do you have something to ask me? Yu Zian seemed to wake up from a dream and hurriedly expressed his loyalty. Please ask, please ask. As long as it's something I know, I'll tell you everything I know. Very good. Su Yiyan nodded in agreement. She picked up the photo on the table and put it in front of the camera. Do you know this woman? Woman? Yu Zian was stunned. When he took a closer look, his expression suddenly changed. This, looks like you know her. When Su Yiyan saw his reaction, her eyes turned cold. She smiled meaningfully. Tell me, who is this? What does she have to do with Qin Huan? Su Yiyan's smile made Yu Zian's hair stand on end. He originally wanted to say that he didn't know this woman and was just surprised to see this photo, but the words got stuck in his throat and he silently swallowed them back down. It's nothing, it's nothing. I swear on my integrity that this woman has absolutely nothing to do with young master. Oh. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. Then why are they standing together and talking to each other? They seem to be quite familiar with each other. Yu Zian's heart was alarmed. He hurriedly said, Young madam, don't misunderstand. It's definitely not what you think. This photo. Yu Zian didn't dare to say that this photo was fake, because the woman in the photo had indeed known them for a long time. Moreover, the photo seemed to have been taken recently. If he said it casually, and young master came back and young madam asked about it when young master came back, wouldn't he have done something bad with good intentions? Yu Zian's mind was full of twists and turns. He gritted his teeth and said, Someone must have taken this photo on purpose to sow discord between you and young master. Young madam, you have to believe that young master's feelings for you can be seen by the sun and the moon. I guarantee with my life that young master has only liked you from the beginning to the end. It is absolutely impossible for him to have any improper contact with other women. I don't know where this photo came from, but I'm sure that young master would never have any feelings for Miss Song. Su Yiyan didn't expect Yu Zian to have such a big reaction. The corner of his mouth twitched. Okay, I didn't mean to embarrass you. I'm just curious about this woman. Yu Zian broke out in a cold sweat. He carefully looked at Su Yiyan to make sure that she wasn't angry. Then he breathed a sigh of relief and said, This woman's surname is Song Yunyuan. She's the youngest daughter of the Song family. Song family? Which Song family? The Song family was a big family in City A long time ago. Later they moved away. Su Yiyan nodded knowingly. No wonder she had no impression of it. This is Miss Song. It wasn't hard to guess Miss Song's identity. She was one of Hua Qinhuan's former suitors. However, compared to a certain unknown niece, this suitor was at least known to Hua Qinhuan and even family Hua. Now that he suddenly came looking for her, it was more believable. Song Yunyuan and Hua Qinhuan were schoolmates. On the first day of school she fell in love with Hua Qinhuan at first sight. Since then she had been pestering him. Although the Song family was considered a big family with a long history, they had declined from their peak and their family business had begun to decline. On the other hand, Hua Qinhuan's father was in the prime of his life. The family whose business was also booming. Overall, they were much stronger than the Song family. The Song family saw that Song Yunyuan liked Hua Qinhuan. If the Song family and family Hua had a marriage alliance, it would be greatly beneficial to their family. Therefore they tried their best to matchmake the two of them. Chapter 745. With the support of her family, Song Yunyuan became even more unscrupulous in her pursuit of Hua Qinhuan. She even reached out to Hua Qinhuan's mother. Unfortunately, Hua Qinhuan's mother was not a feudal elder who liked to intervene in her son's love affairs. Her attitude towards Miss Song had always been lukewarm, and she left the decision to Hua Qinhuan. Unexpectedly, Miss Song was also a person who wanted a yard after taking an inch. Hua Qinhuan's mother had never rejected her outright, so she took her attitude as a tacit agreement. She became more and more determined to win Hua Chenhuan. At that time, Hua Chenhuan was considered the most handsome boy in school. Although he looked a little distant, he was handsome and rich, and there were many suitors. After this, Miss Song found out about it. She had dealt with them both openly and secretly. She was behaving like an imperial concubine. Hua Chenhuan did not know about this at first. Later, when he found out, he wanted to clarify things with this woman and ask her to stay away from him. That was when the accident happened. Back then, Miss Song and the other members of the Song family found out about young Master's accident. They also heard that Master and Madam gave the whole corporation to Hua Chihan before they died. They sent Miss Song abroad overnight. After 1 or 2 years, the whole family moved away and never came back. Su Yiyin heard this and raised her eyebrows slightly. She said with a faint smile, "From your tone, it seems that you are quite regretful that the Song family sent Miss Song away." The expression on Yu Xian's face suddenly froze. This was a question of death. No, I'm just angry. Before Master, Madam, and young Master died, this person said it better than singing. When something happened, she ran away faster than anyone else. She changed her attitude at the drop of a hat. At first, she was the one who rushed to throw herself at him. In the end, when something happened, she ran away without a trace. It was as if her young master wanted to force her to marry him. Because of this incident, Hua Chenhuan, who was forced to accept the crippling of her legs, was ridiculed by many people. Yu Xian, Gu Xiaoyang, and the others' fathers had all been indebted to the family Hua. It could be said that they had grown up with Hua Chenhuan. They had witnessed everything that had happened back then. They really did not have a good impression of Miss Song and the Song family behind her. It could even be said that they hated her so much that their teeth itched. Su Yiyin rolled his eyes and said with a smile, "You don't have to be so angry about this. Yu Xian? Husband and wife are birds in the same forest, but when disaster strikes, they fly separately. Even a married couple was like this, let alone a pitiful wretch who had no name and no status. Not everyone in this world is as devoted to your young master as I am." Yu Xian. Although young madam's words make a lot of sense, that's not a reason for you to show off your love. But on second thought, Su Yiyin's words were not unreasonable. When Hua Chenhuan was in trouble, although she did not stay by his side and never leave him, that was because the two of them had not crossed paths at that time. At least when the two of them got married, Hua Chenhuan's legs were still crippled. Under such circumstances, she could still ignore the rumors outside, stubbornly marry Hua Chenhuan, and treat him so wholeheartedly. Her love was indeed stronger than gold. Thinking of this, Yu Xian's expression improved a lot. Someone sent these photos to me anonymously this morning. No matter who is behind this, their purpose is definitely not simple. Help me find out where Miss Song is now when she came back, and what she wants to do this time. Chapter 746. Su Yiyin might be able to guess the answers to these questions, but it was safer to get someone to investigate some of the details. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. This person had already stepped all over her, so there was no reason for her to hold back and not fight back. If a tiger didn't show its might, she would really be treated as Hello Kitty. Yu Xian obviously thought the same. Song Yunyuan's appearance was too coincidental, and the timing of these photos was not right either. He didn't believe that there were so many coincidences in this world. Back then, when his young master didn't inherit the company and his legs were crippled, he ran away faster than a rabbit. Now that his young master's legs had recovered, he wanted to come back and pick up ready-made goods. How could there be such a good thing? Don't worry, leave this to me. I promise I'll find out everything about her ancestors and make sure she can't do anything. Okay. Su Yiyin nodded. Then he seemed to have thought of something and said, "Don't tell Chenhuan about this for now. When Chenhuan comes back, I'll ask him personally." Yu Xian. For some reason he suddenly had an ominous feeling. "Young master, you're on your own now. The same goes for the rest of you." Su Yiyin hung up the video call and turned to look at the bodyguards beside him, who were ready to tip him off. Nobody is allowed to say a word about what happened today. The bodyguards? It was too difficult for them. However, they already knew who was at the top of the food chain in this family, so in the end, they rationally chose to listen to Su Yiyin and kept this matter under wraps for the time being. President Hua, who was completely unaware that he had been betrayed by his family, was caught off guard and faced with a fatal question that night. "Last time at little Kanji's 1-month-old birthday party, did you meet anyone when you helped me get the juice?" Hua Chenhuan's body suddenly stiffened as he hugged Su Yiyin. "Why are you suddenly asking this?" Su Yiyin looked up at him. "I suddenly thought of it, so I asked." Can't you tell me? Hua Chenhuan instinctively felt a little dangerous, so he quickly said, No. No? You didn't meet anyone? Hua Chenhuan grabbed Su Yiyen's restless hand. He knew that Su Yiyen wasn't the kind of person who liked to inquire about things. Since he suddenly asked this question, he must know something, so he didn't hide it. There's nothing that I can't tell you. That day. Oh, someone who doesn't matter to me. A woman? Yeah. Su Yiyen was not so easily fooled. She continued to interrogate him. Since it's not important, why did you deliberately hide it from me? Are you feeling guilty? Of course not. Don't misunderstand. I have nothing to do with her. I didn't say it at first because I didn't feel comfortable seeing you with your distant cousin. This jealousy of yours is really extraordinarily bold and self-righteous. It's hard to say with outsiders around. What did she do? Did she confess to you? Hua Chenhuan's heart skipped a beat. He secretly thought that she already knew something. Otherwise, she wouldn't have asked such a question. No. She just said some ambiguous and specious words. I was too lazy to talk to her, so I left. But when I was about to come back, she stopped me. At that time, I was still holding the juice for you. I was worried that she would spill it, so I wasted some time with her. Chapter 747. Su Yiyen's eyes flashed. No wonder Hua Chenhuan took so long to come back at that time. He even said that it was because he didn't have enough raw materials, so he sent people out to buy raw materials. Hua Chenhuan obviously also thought of this. He inexplicably coughed with a guilty conscience and asked in a low voice, Why did you suddenly ask about this? Isn't it all because of the romantic debts you've incurred outside? You're even showing off in front of me. How can I not ask? Hua Chenhuan's face darkened. What? Look at this. Su Yiyen curled his lips and handed a pile of photos that someone sent over to Hua Chenhuan. It turned out that the bodyguards that Hua Chenhuan arranged to protect Su Yiyen had already betrayed. They didn't have any information about such an important matter in advance, which caught him off guard and made him a little dumbfounded. These. Hua Chenhuan's face completely darkened. Don't misunderstand. These are basically fake. Basically? Su Yiyen raised his eyebrows and deliberately teased him. So, not all of them are fake? Hua Chenhuan? This was a fatal question. Su Yiyen looked at someone's constipated expression and almost couldn't hold back his laughter. He raised his chin slightly and pointed at the pile of photos. I'll give you a chance to pick out the real photos from here. Hua Chenhuan was silent for a moment and lowered his head to pick out the photos seriously. In the end, only 3 of the 20 photos were picked out that were real in the same frame, and one of them was the photo from the banquet. Su Yiyen had already roughly determined the authenticity of these photos before this. Seeing that he had picked out these 3 photos, the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He took the photo that he had just explained to him and pointed at the other 2. What's with these 2 photos? Did you meet her after that? Hua Chenhuan's eyes turned cold. When she thought of the 2 so-called coincidental encounters after the 1-month-old banquet, her mood couldn't help but turn sour. This picture was taken at a high-class restaurant. At the time, the boss of a company proposed to discuss a collaboration at this place. This collaboration was very important to the company, so I went there. Then you met her in that restaurant? Yes. Did the boss take her there? No. She was sitting diagonally across from us. Oh. Su Yiyen nodded understandingly and sighed from the bottom of her heart. That's really a coincidence. You haven't been to the restaurant for several years. It's not easy for you to go there once and she bumped into you. Is this fate? Hua Chenhuan's face darkened. She recalled that when they met again, Song Yunyuan's first sentence was, What a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you here. It's fate. Was it really fate or was it intentional? If Hua Chenhuan had only been suspicious before, now that she saw these photos, her suspicions were confirmed. However, did she intentionally send someone to follow him and bribe the people around him to know his movements in advance? Or did she deceive the boss and use him as a stepping stone to get closer to her, leading her to meet her coincidentally? Or was it a combination of both? Since she was sitting diagonally across from you at the beginning, how did she get to sit at the same table with you? She came over to strike up a conversation and sat down on her own. Oh. But I told her to get lost very quickly. What? Su Yiyen was stunned. She was a little confused by this strange development. You told her to get lost? In front of the boss? Aren't you afraid that your partner will think that you're too ungentlemanly and directly blow off the contract? However, why did she feel a little good after hearing what he said? Chapter 748. Since Hu Chenhuan dared to do this, she definitely wasn't afraid. At that time, Song Yunyuan came over to their table and suggested that they share a table. Hu Chenhuan knew what she was thinking and replied, "We don't know each other well." These 4 words could be said to be a living weapon of mass destruction. The subtle and ambiguous atmosphere between them instantly froze. Even Hu Chenhuan's partner couldn't help but widen her eyes. She was surprised by Hu Chenhuan's coldness towards girls. Song Yunyuan didn't seem to expect that Hu Chenhuan wouldn't give her face in front of so many people. When she tactfully suggested that they share a table, she had already acted first and sat down. As soon as Hu Chenhuan said this, Song Yunyuan immediately fell into a dilemma. She felt that everyone's eyes were on her, making her feel as if she was sitting on pins and needles. However, Song Yunyuan remembered that she still had things to do. In the end, she suppressed her anger and said with a faint smile, "Your words are a little sad. Although we haven't seen each other for many years back then." Before Song Yunyuan could finish, Hu Chenhuan interrupted her, "We didn't know each other back then. If there's nothing else, Miss Song, please help yourself. We still have business to talk about. We don't have time to play house with you." Song Yunyuan couldn't maintain the smile on her face. She gritted her teeth and said, "We've known each other for a while. Are you really not going to give me any face?" Hu Chenhuan didn't even look at her. In response to Song Yunyuan's words, she simply said, "Get lost." After hearing Hu Chenhuan's description, Su Yiyin could almost imagine the embarrassing scene when someone left. Her mood instantly soared. She wasn't a Virgin Mary who loved the world and could share her man with other women. She felt that she was doing something for the family and was moved by herself. For this kind of woman who clearly knew that he was already married but still rushed over to seduce him, no matter how embarrassing it was, she was asking for it. However, although she was happy, she was still a little worried about the important collaboration Hu Chenhuan had mentioned. It would be a great loss if this woman failed for no reason. When Hu Chenhuan learned about Su Yiyin's worries, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. For a moment, he didn't know whether to be moved by his family's concern for his career or helpless that her focus was always so unexpected. "We've already reached an agreement. What you're worried about didn't happen. On the contrary, my rejection actually helped me gain some goodwill from my business partner." Su Yiyin looked surprised. "Really?" "Yes." As Su Yiyin had expected, Hu Chenhuan's attitude towards Song Yunyuan had indeed surprised and disgusted the other party's boss. He didn't know the cause and effect. He only saw Hu Chenhuan's attitude towards Song Yunyuan and thought that he looked down on girls. For this reason, the other party even tried to tactfully hint to him that a fair and graceful woman was a good match for a gentleman, and vice versa. No matter what, she only liked you. Even if you didn't like her, you didn't have to go to this extent. It was too hurtful. In response, Hu Chenhuan only replied, "I'm married. My wife is pregnant with the fruit of our love. I love my wife very much and I love my family very much. She knows all of this." The boss was a foreigner. He really didn't know that Hu Chenhuan was already married. After hearing Hu Chenhuan's words, his face suddenly became like a color palette. It was very interesting. He thought that it was a young man courageously pursuing love, but he didn't expect that it was a coquettish B*th who seduced a married man. Chapter 749. It was definitely awkward, but a business partner worthy of Hu Chenhuan's personal effort would not get angry over such a small matter. After a series of changes in his expression, the man composed himself and apologized to Hu Chenhuan for misunderstanding him. Hu Chenhuan did not intend to harp on the matter, so he quickly let it go. Because of this small episode, the man's impression of Hu Chenhuan improved. The conversation after that went relatively smoothly, and the partnership was quickly settled. After listening to Hu Chenhuan's explanation, Su Yiyin clicked her tongue in admiration. "I didn't know that Boss Hu was so affectionate with his family." "Oh, huh?" Su Yiyin looked up at him in confusion. Hu Chenhuan lowered his head and kissed her forehead. He smiled and said, "It's not affectionate with his family. It's a henpecked husband." Su Yiyin was stunned for a few seconds. She burrowed into Hu Chenhuan's arms and laughed. Hu Chenhuan held her waist to prevent her legs from slipping to the ground because she laughed too hard. Su Yiyin laughed for a while before she suddenly realized. "That's not right. When did I ever take care of you? You can take care of me now." "Oh," Su Yiyin muttered to herself. She pointed at the pile of photos and muttered, "I don't want to see these things again. Help me get rid of them." "Here." "What?" "Don't say help. Say here." Su Yiyin was stunned. She quickly understood what Huo Chenhuan meant. Her face flushed red. She pointed at the pile of photos and said proudly, "Get rid of them for me." Huo Chenhuan was touched. He lowered his head and kissed his wife's chubby face. "Yes, ma'am. Also, I've already asked Xian to investigate the purpose of this woman's return to the country. Get rid of them too. I don't want to see her again." Huo Chenhuan's eyes flashed. Hey, it seemed like it wasn't those bodyguards. Someone had also betrayed them. At that time, Yu Xian, who had been diligently searching for two helpers, couldn't help but sneeze. Zui Yanbai and Gu Xiaoyang instantly retreated 3 meters away, distancing themselves from him. Seeing this, Yu Xian felt a little wronged. What kind of attitude is this? I even thought of you when I had something good to offer. Is this how you repay me? Good news? Zui Yanbai's eyebrows twitched. Your so-called good deed is to ask us to work overtime with you at night? Yu Xian rolled his eyes at him. Young madam asked us to investigate this matter. If it weren't for the fact that it would be faster to investigate with more people, do you think I would be willing to ask you for help? Did young madam ask you to investigate? The two men looked at each other, and their expressions became more cautious. Why would young madam ask you to investigate something for no reason? Yu Xian raised his chin proudly. Of course it's because she trusts me. Zui Yanbai and Gu Xiaoyang were speechless. Their hands were itching to hit him. Yu Xian, who didn't realize that he had attracted a wave of hatred, immediately thought of business. Let's not talk nonsense with you. Let's get down to business. Young madam wants us to investigate Song Yunyuan. Song Yunyuan? The two men's expressions changed. Obviously it wasn't just Yu Xian. These two men didn't have a good impression of Song Yunyuan either. How does young madam know about Song Yunyuan and ask you to investigate her? Did something happen? Their reactions were understandable. A woman who had been running away for more than 10 years suddenly appeared less than a year after their young master's leg recovered. It was impossible for them to believe that there wasn't something fishy going on. Chapter 750. As soon as they asked, Yu Xian's face darkened, and he shared what he had learned not long ago with them. Gu Xiaoyang couldn't control his temper after hearing this. He cursed on the spot, "F***ck, what's wrong with this woman? She ran away as soon as she said she would, for fear that our young master would be blind and fall in love with her. Now that our young master has recovered, she came back to seduce him, and she even dared to show off in front of our young mistress. Does she think that our young master and we are dead?" Song Yunyuan herself probably didn't expect that when ordinary people suddenly received intimate photos of their husband with another woman, they would either make a fuss or tolerate it. In her opinion, Su Yiyan and Huo Chenhuan were in a business marriage, and they didn't have deep feelings for each other. It was most likely the latter reaction. In the end, things did not go as she had expected. Su Yiyan did not make a fuss, nor did she tolerate it. Instead, she openly brought the matter to the surface and aroused everyone's anger. She was the culprit, and they unanimously vented all their frustrations on her. No wonder Gu Xiaoyang had such a big reaction. Even Zui Yanbai, who was usually more mature than the two of them, couldn't help but become angry after listening to Yu Xian's words. Does she think we're dead? When has that woman ever taken us seriously? Unlike their young mistress, who loved the house and its crow, she knew that they were the young master's right-hand men and would think of them whenever something good happened. She never treated them as outsiders. No, that woman didn't deserve to be compared to their young mistress. This was simply blasphemy to their young mistress. Zui Yanbai's face darkened and he asked coldly, "Did you tell our young master about this?" "No, our young mistress said she wanted to ask our young master personally," Yu Xian said, still a little worried. "I don't know if our young master can handle our young mistress. Our young mistress is pregnant with our young master. It won't be good if there's a conflict." Zui Yanbai and Yu Xian looked at each other with complicated expressions. Worried about our young master? If you have the time, you should worry about yourself. Yu Xian was a little confused and looked at Gu Xiaoyang for help. The subtle imbalance in Gu Xiaoyang's heart, "Young madam actually asked him for help but not me," had completely disappeared. He patted his shoulders solemnly and sympathetically. "Take care. Yu Xian." After Su Yiyan finished speaking, she saw that Huo Chenhuan did not respond for a long time. Her eyes turned cold and she sneered, "What? Can't bear to part with her?" Huo Chenhuan suddenly came to her senses and hurriedly said, "No, I was just thinking about how to deal with her. Since they dared to scheme against us, we can't let them off so easily." "That's more like it," Su Yiyan snorted coldly. His jealousy was not small. Hua Chenhuan looked at her like this, and a smile flashed across his eyes. He couldn't help but want to tease her. You really don't doubt it at all? What are you suspecting? Suspecting that you went out to fool around while I was pregnant? Su Yiyan snorted in an especially arrogant manner. Who was the one who swore that she would leave the marriage with nothing if she cheated? If you really cheated, believe it or not, I'll run away with the baby immediately, then find a young and handsome puppy and ask your son to call him Dad. Are you scared? Are you scared? I'm scared. That's right. I'd rather believe that pigs can climb trees than believe that you would go out to fool around. Moreover, if he dared to cheat on her when he was with her, Mrs. Qin's secret recipe for ending the family line was worth learning from. Hua Chenhuan. Dear, although I'm very happy that you trust me so much, isn't this example a bit inappropriate? Chapter 751. In order to save his own life, Yu Ziyan was going all out. Hua Chenhuan finally coaxed his wife to sleep, and then received a lot of information from him. It was actually very easy to find out when Song Yunyuan came back. They just needed to check the flight from Hua Chenhuan's leg to the full moon banquet. The amount of data seemed to be a lot, but as long as they had a specific direction they could quickly find out. Considering that the first time they met was in Sea City, Yu Ziyan and the others' initial direction of investigation was also the port of Sea City, but they didn't find anything. Later, they turned back to a city and finally found out that as early as a month after Hua Chenhuan went to the Hua Group's anniversary celebration, Song Yunyuan came back to Sea City and rented a small apartment not far from the family Hua's old house. Obviously she planned to live there for a long time. However, the Song family moved abroad 10 years ago because they were afraid of being involved with the family Hua. Their connections in the local area were not as wide as they used to be. During the half a month when Su Yiyan and his wife were still in a city, she probably couldn't find a good opportunity to have a chance encounter with Hua Chenhuan after a long separation. When she finally found a way, the two of them had already gone to Sea City to accompany Qin Shueru to wait for the delivery. She had no choice but to follow them to Sea City. When Hua Chenhuan learned that this woman rented an apartment not far from his house, he suddenly felt disgusted as if he had accidentally eaten a fly. When Zheng Qianyang came back, he saw his nephew sitting in the living room with a gloomy face. He was surrounded by a dark and gloomy aura. He was confused and took the initiative to sit opposite Hua Chenhuan. Is Yan asleep? Yes. What happened? You look so pale. Since the uncle and nephew untied the knot in their hearts, they spoke much more freely and were no longer as hesitant as before. Uncle, have you heard of the Song family all these years when you were abroad? Song family? Zheng Qianyang pondered for a moment before realizing which Song family Hua Chenhuan was talking about. You mean the Song family where a girl chased after you every day wanting to be your wife? It would have been better if Zheng Qianyang hadn't mentioned this. The moment he did, Hua Chenhuan's face darkened. My wife is Yan. In this lifetime she will be the only one. Yes. Other than Yan, how many wives do you want? If you dare to let her down, I'll be the first to disagree. Zheng Qianyang also realized that he had misspoken. He frowned and said, Why are you asking about the Song family? Back then, when the family Hua was in a mess, Hua Qihan and the others could not even be bothered with Zheng Qianyang, let alone the Song family, which had nothing to do with them. However, when he went abroad later, he happened to hear about the Song family's actions. Although he could understand, he was also very disgusted by the Song family's behavior. At that time, Zheng Qianyang had completely taken over the Zheng family's business and had a foothold abroad. Although he did not do anything to the Song family, he clearly expressed his dislike of the Song family. Businessmen were the most shrewd. Some things did not need to be said. They only needed to show their attitude and they would know what to do. Although Zheng Qianyang disdained to find out about the Song family's situation abroad, he could roughly guess that they had not had an easy time these years. Song Yunyuan returned to the country and sent some specious things to Yan. Song Yunyuan? That girl from the Song family? Zheng Qianyang was not stupid. His face darkened. She wants to sow discord between you and Yan? Chapter 752. Hua Chenhuan thought of the composite photos of Hua Lulu and her face darkened. Yes. She hasn't given up on you? She wants to be the young madam of the family Hua? Ha! Hua Chenhuan's eyes were full of sarcasm. Zheng Qianyang's face also darkened. She doesn't deserve it. During these days in the family Hua, Zheng Qianyang had been completely subdued by Su Yiyan. He was good-looking, gentle, and considerate. His culinary skills were so good that it was enough to make one's tongue drop. Most importantly, he was in love with his nephew. Whether a person had feelings for another person or not, the look in their eyes could not be faked, and the atmosphere they got along with each other could not be faked. Zheng Qinyang was not married and had no children. In his opinion, the only bloodline left by his sister was the only thing he cared about in this world. Zheng Qinyang could not tolerate the fact that the woman had tried her best to seduce his nephew, but she had even tried to seduce his pregnant niece-in-law. How is Yan Yan? Were you angered by it? Did she have a fight with you? No, she didn't have a fight with me, but I think she was angry. Although Su Yiyan tried her best to act indifferent, Huo Chenhuan still felt that she was angry. She was definitely angry. Who wouldn't be angry when encountering such a thing? It's good that she didn't lose her temper with you. But she is pregnant now and anger is harmful to her health. You should coax her and explain to her clearly. Don't ruin your relationship because of an outsider. Huo Chenhuan nodded and accepted Zheng Qinyang's kind reminder. Yes. Zheng Qinyang knew that his nephew cared about his wife, so he was relieved. While he breathed a sigh of relief, he also thought of the culprit who caused all this. What are you going to do about Miss Song? You have more connections abroad than me, so you should be more efficient in investigating things. Zheng Qinyang's eyes flashed. You want me to investigate the Song family? Yes. Huo Chenhuan didn't think that Song Yunyuan had returned to the country alone for a few months and none of her relatives abroad had found out. The biggest possibility was that they had known about this for a long time and even tacitly supported her to come back and reconnect with him. Regardless of whether this was the case or not, Huo Chenhuan was not going to let this family off. Just making Song Yunyuan pay the price for raising such a woman was not enough to extinguish the anger in his heart. What happened after the investigation? Huo Chenhuan raised her head and looked at Zheng Qinyang. She did not hide the ruthlessness between her eyebrows. I will make her lose whatever she wants. Death was not the most terrifying thing. He wanted her and the family behind her to lose everything. Zheng Qinyang didn't seem surprised by Huo Chenhuan's reply. After a moment of silence, he suddenly burst into laughter. It was rare for him to laugh so heartily, and even his originally slightly sharp eyebrows also relaxed. He looked at Huo Chenhuan as if he was looking at a child who had finally grown up. He was gratified and happy. Okay, I will help you. Su Yiyan didn't know that the uncle and nephew who were good at playing straight ball had already planned their revenge in just one night. After a good night's sleep, the little anger in Su Yiyan's heart because of those photos had completely dissipated. As soon as she woke up, the door of the bedroom was open before she could get out of bed. Huo Chenhuan came in from outside and gave her a good night kiss naturally. He smiled and said, "Do you want to continue sleeping?" No. Su Yiyan yawned and prepared to get up. Chapter 753. Then get up. I've prepared breakfast for you. Su Yiyan's movements suddenly stopped, and his eyes widened in surprise. You prepared breakfast for me? Yes. Did you make it yourself? Huo Chenhuan's ears were slightly red and he answered like a little wife, yes. Su Yiyan blinked and said in surprise and confusion, Did you do something wrong to me? The expression on Huo Chenhuan's face suddenly froze. Why do you ask? Su Yiyan reached out and hugged his neck, hanging on his body. If you didn't do anything wrong to me, why did you suddenly cook breakfast for me? One had to know that before this, a certain someone didn't even know how to wash rice. I didn't do anything wrong to you. Huo Chenhuan hugged Su Yiyan's waist back. I just suddenly wanted to cook something for you to eat. To make you happy. Really? Yes. Su Yiyan looked at him deeply, took the initiative to kiss him and didn't ask again. After washing up at the fastest speed, Su Yiyan ran downstairs excitedly, wanting to see what kind of breakfast Huo Chenhuan personally cooked for him. Huo Chenhuan's breakfast was actually very simple. He fried a poached egg that didn't look like a poached egg and then, under the instructions of the chef at home, he put in the wonton that had been wrapped in the refrigerator long ago. Even so, Su Yiyan still felt particularly surprised. It looks good. Su Yiyan looked at the egg on the plate that was obviously a little overcooked and looked oily, and he was not stingy with his praise. It was not easy to have such a performance for the first time cooking. At least it wasn't burned. If Huo Chenhuan knew what Su Yiyan was thinking, he would be so embarrassed that the tips of his ears would turn red. It was not that he didn't burn the egg, but after wasting a lot of eggs with the help of several surprised chefs, he finally fried a presentable one. Frying eggs was not particularly difficult, but frying a beautiful poached egg was still difficult for a novice like Huo Chenhuan. Su Yiyan didn't have much hope. Under Hua Qinhuan's expectant gaze, he took a bite of the egg. The egg was indeed a little overcooked, but it was still edible. It was just that, cough cough, there was a little too much salt and it tasted a little salty. Su Yiyin swallowed the egg, suppressed the urge to drink water immediately, and encouraged him. It's delicious. It's already very good for the first time. Maybe after a few more times our family's chef in the future. Hua Qinhuan didn't hear the consolation and exaggeration in Su Yiyin's words. His eyes lit up and he said cautiously, "If you like it, I'll practice more and cook for you every day in the future." "That's not necessary. You're so busy every day. It'll be very tiring to do this. Just leave it to the others. As long as you like it, I won't feel tired." Forget it, he had to eat this damn thing even if he cried. Sitting across from him at the dining table, Jing Qinyang's mouth twitched as he stared at his nephew, who was acting like a little wife, and inexplicably felt that he was a little extra here. The egg was too salty and the wonton wasn't cooked very well. A few of them were broken. The soup had no seasoning or salt and it was very bland. Su Yiyin ate a mouthful of egg and drank a mouthful of wonton soup. He thought to himself that it was a good thing that Hua Qinhuan didn't cook the wonton soup as salty as the egg. This salty and bland soup balanced each other out. It was a blessing in disguise. Chapter 754. After Song Yunyuan sent out the photos, she hired someone to keep an eye on the family Hua. She thought that even if Su Yiyin didn't get so angry that she had a miscarriage after seeing the photos, she would definitely argue with Hua Qinhuan. In the end, she waited for 2 full days, but there was no movement from the family Hua at all. Just as she was hesitating whether she should think of another way, a group of people suddenly barged into her house and dragged her out. Song Yunyuan turned pale with fright. "Who are you? What do you want? Let go of me, let go of me. Help, help, oh." Perhaps they felt that she was too annoying, so they simply covered her mouth, dragged her downstairs and stuffed her into the car. Half an hour later, Song Yunyuan was tied up and boarded the plane. The person in charge of sending her off was Yu Zian. As soon as Song Yunyuan saw Yu Zian, her expression changed. You are, Miss Song, you're so forgetful. Don't you recognize me? Well, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. How could someone like Miss Song, who is so focused on climbing up the ladder, remember a nobody like us?" Song Yunyuan's face turned green with anger when she heard Yu Zian's words. She tried her best to remain cold. "How could it be you? What are you doing? Why are you arresting me? You're illegally detaining me and maliciously restricting my personal freedom. It's illegal. We're just sending Miss Song back to where she belongs. How is that illegal? As for why we're arresting you?" Yu Zian's eyes turned cold. The coldness and mockery in his eyes intensified. "Don't you know what Miss Song has done?" Song Yunyuan's body trembled. She suddenly had an ominous premonition, and her eyes began to avert. "It looks like Miss Song has remembered what she did." Yu Zian's heart was boiling with anger. Thinking that the unborn young master might be hurt by a certain someone's dirty thoughts, he didn't want to waste any more words with this woman. "Miss Song, please remember to tell your family that since they can't educate their children well, our young master doesn't mind helping them educate their children. It's just that as an elder, you can't even do something as simple as restraining your juniors. You have to pay a price." Song Yunyuan understood what Yu Zian was implying. Her pupils shrank and she struggled violently. "You won't do this to me. You won't do this to me." Yu Zian was amused by her reaction. "Forgive me for being blunt, but Miss Song seems to think too highly of herself." Song Yunyuan stopped struggling. "Who do you think you are to deserve young master's special treatment? You even dared to provoke young madam. Don't you know that she is our young master's true love? Since you dared to provoke young madam, you should have known that you would end up like this." Yu Zian mercilessly reprimanded a certain someone. He only felt refreshed, relaxed, and happy. He ignored Song Yunyuan's ferocious eyes, which looked as if she wanted to tear him into pieces, and said cheerfully, "Send Miss Song up." Song Yunyuan was still shouting, but unfortunately no one cared about her thoughts. They even felt that she was too noisy, so they covered her mouth again. Yu Zian waited downstairs for half an hour. After confirming that Song Yunyuan had really been sent away, he couldn't help but excitedly rub his little hands together. This time he took the initiative to pack her up and send her away. No matter what, it could be considered a great merit, right? He wondered if young madam would reward him when she found out. He didn't ask for much. She would just reward him with a few meals of medicinal cuisine from the restaurant. Chapter 755. Su Yayan did not know that Hua Chenhuan would act so quickly. Someone had just finished causing trouble for him, and he was already sent home by Hua Chenhuan. It wasn't until Yu Zian secretly ran to her to ask for credit that Su Yiyan found out how Hua Chenhuan made sure that someone would never appear in front of her again. She was surprised and a little happy at the same time. She wasn't stingy with Yu Zian, who had contributed so much. She immediately asked Li Jingwen and the others to help prepare some things and send them to Yu Zian's company to thank him for his help. For this reason, Yu Zian was envied and hated by the other two people. It was said that they were beaten up after that. The reason was that they had all helped Yu Zian. Not only did Yu Zian take the credit for himself, he even dared to take all the credit for himself. Su Yiyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she heard this. She asked someone to send 2 more gifts to them on the same day, lest they think that she and Hua Chenhuan favored one and discriminated against the other. Hua Chenhuan and the others were busy dealing with Song Yunyuan and neglected the investigation of Su Yiyan by Dou Tiany's people. Boss. Dou Tiany looked up at him. Did you find it? Yes. Li Yu handed the information in his hand to Dou Tiany. You guessed right. This ring is indeed custom-made. Dou Tiany's eyes lit up. Who custom-made it? This ring is made by an internationally famous jewelry designer, Thomas James. After this jewelry designer became famous, he rarely designed jewelry by himself. There are only a few custom-made pieces. Before Li Yu finished speaking, Dou Tiany interrupted him impatiently. I'm not interested in this. I just want to know who custom-made this ring and who has it now. This ring hasn't been publicized, and the outside world almost doesn't know about this ring's existence. Dou Tiany narrowed his eyes. You mean you didn't find out? No. Li Yu looked into Dou Tiany's cold eyes and trembled all over. She braced herself and pointed to the photo in the file. This is the photo that your subordinates accidentally took when you sent someone to investigate Miss Su, who has a personal grudge with Miss Wen. Look at the ring in this photo. Isn't it very similar to the one you saw in the live broadcast room? Dou Tiany was slightly taken aback. He did not expect the two of them to be together. They do look alike. It might be similar, but that might not be the case. Li Yu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and tried to add more evidence to his story. I've asked someone to investigate Miss Su again and found out that Miss Su's husband, the uncle of young master of family Hua, has a very good personal relationship with this jewelry master. So, it's reasonable for him to make a private order for them? Yes. Other than that, there's something else that's very surprising. What is it? Miss Su and young master of family Hua got married more than a year ago. At that time, Mr. Hua's legs were disabled and he was in a wheelchair. But about half a year later his leg recovered. Even now, no one has been able to find out how his leg was healed. Are you sure that they recovered after they got married and that they didn't treat them long ago and deliberately hid it? Of course that's possible. However, other than that, I also found out something else. Miss Su is pregnant now. However, before she got pregnant, she went to University A as a temporary lecturer and taught some students in the Faculty of Pharmacy. It's worth mentioning that not only do University A students attend her classes, but old professors from other universities also often attend her classes because of her reputation. Chapter 756. Su Yiyan's lecture at University A was purposely scheduled during the holidays, and everyone present had signed a confidentiality agreement. However, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. If they really wanted to investigate, they might be able to find out. Previously, Dou Tiany's team had not been able to find out because Hua Chenhuan had deliberately led them to other places by setting up a few smoke bombs. Now that they had found the right direction, some of the intricate details were naturally traced back and pulled out one by one. Old professors? Dou Tiany raised his eyebrows. What do these old professors do? Most of them are old professors in the Department of Pharmacy. Many of them are old experts in ancient earth medicine and ancient earth medicine. Ancient earth medicine? When Li Yu said this, Dou Tiany remembered that the medicinal cuisine that the live stream had been promoting all this time seemed to have come from ancient earth medicine. With this piece of evidence, he believed half of it. Later on, I spent a lot of effort to bribe a small employee in the store registration bureau to find out that one of the small shareholders of the restaurant was Ching Juanhao. This person had once presided over the opening ceremony of the medicinal cuisine restaurant. This man just so happened to be Miss Su's biological uncle. Biological uncle? Dou Tiany's eyes flickered slightly, but he had already come to a conclusion in his heart. Some things might happen once or twice by chance, but it would become inevitable if there were more. In his opinion, even if this Miss Su was not the streamer he was looking for, she was definitely related to him. When he thought about the things that had happened to Wen Jingping before she came to him to seek refuge, he became even more curious about Su Yiyan. "Did you manage to get the reservation that I asked you to previously?" "I got it. It's in a week." Liu could not help but break out in a cold sweat when she mentioned this. That day, Dou Qianni had been slightly curious about Su Yiyan. He had asked Liu to book a reservation at Su Yiyan's medicinal cuisine restaurant and was prepared to visit personally to find out the truth. But how could it be so easy to make a reservation at a medicinal cuisine restaurant? When they first opened, there were 100 slots for lunch and 100 slots for dinner, but the demand still couldn't meet the demand, so they had to wait until half a year later. After Su Yiyan became pregnant, the quota was cut in half, and the quota was reduced to 50 for lunch and 50 for dinner. Every day, tens of millions of people would aim for these 100 spots and fight until their heads bled. Those who managed to grab a spot were almost all freaks with fast hands and lucky stars. In order to get a spot for Dou Qianni, Liu had mobilized almost everyone in the company to help her. After several days, she had only managed to get one spot, and it was only a few months later. Liu felt crazy just thinking about it. No matter where they went, it was still a meal. Was there a need to go so far just for a spot? Reality proved that this was indeed the case. At least from Dou Qianni's point of view, as long as the owner of this shop could really cure or even alleviate his illness, everything would be worth it. A week later? Dou Qianni turned the ring on his finger. His expression was uncertain, and no one could tell whether he was happy or angry. "Let me see with my own eyes what kind of person she is." After Song Yunyuan was packed and sent away, the matter was over and no one mentioned it again. Entering the 8th month, Su Yiyan's belly became rounder and rounder, and she had to be careful when she walked. Huo Chenhuan was even more nervous and did not dare to be careless. She even took 3 months of paternity leave to accompany her at home every day. She was afraid that Su Yiyan would bump into something if she was not careful. Qing Xiuqin and the others were the same. Huo Chenhuan's parents were no longer around. Although Uncle Zhang helped to take care of her, it was still inconvenient. Chapter 757. As soon as the child was 8 months old, she clamored to move over or let Su Yiyan return to her maternal home to prepare for delivery. Huo Chenhuan naturally couldn't let her wife run away with the baby, but it was indeed a little early to come over in 8 months. In the end, Su Yiyan bargained with her mother and asked her to come over in a month and stay until she was out of confinement. Although Qing Xiuqin was still a little unwilling, she couldn't say anything else when Su Yiyan insisted. She only ran to the family Hua every 2 to 3 days and moved the things she had bought for Qin Shueru into the house one by one. Su Yiyan wanted to tell her that Huo Chenhuan had already prepared these things long ago, but she was stopped by Huo Chenhuan. "Mom is in high spirits right now. If you don't let her send it, she might think that we don't welcome her. But this is too much. It's just a baby and he's growing so fast. How can he wear so many clothes? How can he wear so many things?" Su Yiyan now video called Qin Shueru once a week to exchange pregnancy experiences with her and at the same time to look at small porridge. When this little guy was just born, he was still very small. In just a few months he was like a balloon that had been blown up. He looked different every time. At this time he had already become strong and chubby. His small arms were like lotus roots and there was a hole in his face with a pinch. However, because he grew quickly, he also changed his clothes very diligently. Many small clothes were kept at the bottom of the box before he could wear them. If it was in the past, Huo Chenhuan would definitely let Su Yiyan have a few more babies after hearing her say this. However, after seeing the tense atmosphere during Qin Shueru's labor, Huo Chenhuan only said lightly, "You can keep them if you can't wear them a few times. In the future, when Xiao Yang and the rest or your best friend get married and have a baby, it's the same as giving them to them." The 3 single dogs who were caught off guard felt a chill down their backs. Su Yiyan was just saying that. She couldn't bear to hurt her mother's enthusiasm at this time. In addition to the Su family, Ling Xiaoqi also visited frequently during this period. After Qin Fangda was chased back to Sea City, she also returned to work in the company, but she didn't change her place of residence. After returning to her normal life, Ling Xiaoqi usually went to work or took care of the puppies at home. Because they lived closer, when Su Yiyan went out for a walk with Huo Chenhuan, she would specially go to her place to see the puppies. Now Su's home, Su's, After taking a closer look, she found that other than Hua Hua, there was only a little Hua Hua and a little Dun Dun. The other little Dundans was missing. Ahem. Ling Xiaoqi coughed softly. Her eyes began to wander, obviously feeling guilty. Didn't I go on a week-long business trip a few days ago? I was worried about leaving the puppies at home, so I asked someone to take care of them for a few days. When I came back, the person who took care of them said that he liked the puppies very much. He begged me a few times, so I gave them to him. You gave them to him? Su Yiyan was shocked. She felt that there was something she didn't know. Ling Xiaoqi's love for the puppies was no less than hers. She said that she would give one to her because Dun Dun was the puppy's father. But now, this Qing Yaojin had appeared out of nowhere and had taken away one before her. Who did you give them to? Chapter 758. Ling Xiaoqi was silent for a while before saying softly, Mr. Ning. Mr. Ning? Which? Su Yiyan choked on her words. Ning Siyuan? Yeah. Su Yiyan felt like the world was falling apart. She was stunned. When did the two of you become so familiar with each other? Su Yiyan's first reaction was, when did the two of them get together? Her second thought was, doesn't Ning Siyuan have asthma? Can he keep a dog? Finally, she recalled that Ning Siyuan's asthma had been treated with medicinal cuisine recently, so he was basically desensitized to allergens. Since he had taken the initiative to ask for a dog, there shouldn't be any problems. Thinking of this, Su Yiyan didn't feel good. So after all this time, she had assisted the pig outside and taken away her cabbage? Ling Xiaoqi didn't know that Su Yiyan was feeling depressed and regretful. She lowered her head and said, It was when he helped chase Qin Fangde away the other time and sent me home. Su Yiyan? So the two of you got together just like that? No wonder she had felt that something was wrong when they got into the same car that day. Sob, sob, sob. Her sixth sense was indeed accurate. Su Yiyan wasn't in a position to comment on matters of the heart. Moreover, although she hadn't interacted much with Ning Siyuan, she knew that he wasn't someone who harbored evil intentions and liked to play with girls' feelings. It was still too early to talk about all this. It was better to wait and see. Which one did you send away? It was Curly Curly. Curly Curly was the smallest of the three. Because its fur was different from the others, it was naturally curly and had some genetic mutation, so it was named that way. Su Yiyan took a closer look. It was indeed the smallest curly hair that was missing. She almost burst into tears on the spot. She had seen these three little guys when she went to Ling Xiaoqi's house before. At that time, she was attracted by the little curly hair that was as silly as her own Dun Dun at first glance. She wanted to take it home after she gave birth to the baby and had free hands. Little curly hair had already become someone else's child when they met again after this separation. However, this matter could not be blamed on Ling Xiaoqi. At that time, Su Yiyan was only scheming in her heart. She did not tell Ling Xiaoqi about this matter. Otherwise, Ling Xiaoqi would never have given roll paper away. Su Yiyan sighed disappointedly and comforted herself. Boss Ning saved you once. It's okay to give one to him. I just hope that after he brings Curly Curly home, he will take good care of it and not bully it. You don't have to worry about that. When Ling Xiaoqi heard Su Yiyan's words, she chuckled and said, At first I was a little worried. Later on, he would send me short videos every day to let me check on Scroll's situation. Su Yiyan, now he takes Curly Curly out for walks and exercises every day. He even brushes his hair and baths him. He takes very good care of him. It's only been a few days, but Curly Curly has already gained a lot of weight. Ling Xiaoqi chattered on about how well Ning Siyuan took care of Curly hair. She completely did not notice Su Yiyan's increasingly subtle expression. This dog of a man indeed had ulterior motives towards her Xiaoqi. What checking on the puppy's situation? He was clearly looking for an excuse to contact Ling Xiaoqi and improve their relationship. Her pitiful cabbage was so fresh and pure. She was already about to be taken by someone else, yet she was still happily praising the pigs outside for being strong and eating a lot. Su Yiyan glanced at her best friend and sighed sadly. Chapter 759. Ling Xiaoqi didn't understand the sadness in Su Yiyan's heart. After saying so much, she realized that she had lost her composure. She blushed slightly and didn't mention Ning Siyuan again. Unfortunately, it was too late. Su Yiyan wasn't stupid. How could she not see that Ling Xiaoqi had a subtle affection for Ning Siyuan? Although she felt a little regretful, she still respected Ling Xiaoqi's thoughts and didn't say much. Hua Chenhuan saw Ling Xiaoqi bringing Hua Hua and the two little ones over. She thought about how Su Yiyan might be giving birth soon and inevitably neglected Dun Dun. This little bastard had a bad temper. When Su Yiyan was pregnant, Huan didn't let Su Yiyan hold it, so it had a long cold war with them. Who knew what would happen after the baby was born? Why not? Dun Dun has been missing Hua and the baby a lot recently, so he's not in a good mood. If this goes on, I'm worried that he'll suffer from depression. Su Yiyan looked at her man in surprise as if to say, since when do you know that dogs will suffer from depression if they're not in a good mood? Ling Xiaoqi's eyelids twitched and she suddenly had a bad feeling. Dun Dun was busy telling Hua about how much he missed her, and he kept barking. Suddenly it heard someone mention its name. It was stunned for a moment, then it turned around and met the inquisitive gazes of the few people. Although it didn't understand what its dog daddy meant by depression, it was a fact that it hadn't been in a good mood recently. It immediately barked and lay down on the ground. It didn't forget to hug its head with its paws, looking weak, helpless, and pitiful. Su Yiyan, Ling Xiaoqi was speechless. Is your dog a drama queen? Seeing that Dun Dun was so cooperative, Huan continued, it wanted to run away from home to find Hua, but because it was too big, it got stuck in the dog hole in the yard. It took us a lot of effort to dig it out. Although this matter didn't happen recently, strictly speaking, Huan wasn't lying. Dun Dun, who had once failed to run away from home. Don't talk about this kind of dark history. Give me some face in front of my wife's parents, hey. Ling Xiaoqi lowered her head to look at Dun Dun in surprise. Su Yiyan stared at her man with a complicated expression. Her penetrating gaze seemed to be saying, lie, keep lying. I want to see what you can come up with. Although he failed to run away from home when he came back, he was in low spirits and didn't eat for several days. Later, maybe he was really hungry so he only ate a few mouthfuls. Look, he's so thin from hunger. Dun Dun, who was so round that it was impossible to tell where he had lost weight. Su Yiyan and Ling Xiaoqi. Is it really okay for you to lie through your teeth like that? After Huan finished speaking, she seemed to have noticed the loophole in her words. She glanced at Dun Dun in exasperation. Dun Dun, who was overweight. It's my fault for eating so much. Su Yiyan couldn't stand it anymore and tried to salvage the situation for her man. Don't be fooled by Dun Dun's size. He looks round but his outer circle is full of fur. He doesn't weigh much when you carry him. Who are you trying to fool? Do I look like such a stupid person? Ling Xiaoqi's mouth twitched. So you mean, it's not a solution if he doesn't eat? Yan is going to give birth in a month, and we don't have the energy to take care of him or counsel him. It's better to let him go back with you. With Hua around, he'll be in a good mood and everything else will be fine. Chapter 760. As soon as Huan finished speaking, Dun Dun, who was lying on the ground pretending to be dead, suddenly got up as if it had been injected with chicken blood. It happily barked a few times to express its agreement. Su Yiyan and Qin Xiaobei were speechless. Although the original intention was to send you back, it was really sad that you couldn't wait to wait. You little heartless, forgetting your mother once you have a wife. Ling Xiaoqi was speechless. Look at how energetic you are. You don't look like you're depressed at all. Ahem, what Huan said makes sense. Dun Dun and Hua have a good relationship. After Hua gave birth to these 3 puppies, Dun Dun rarely spends time with them. I think it will miss them. After I give birth, I'll have to rest for a while. At that time, the people at home will have to take care of the babies and me, so it will definitely be neglected. You took it back to raise it for a while before, so I'm relieved to leave it to you. Also, if you take it back now, you don't have to worry about what happened before happening again. After all. Dun Dun, who was no longer a complete baby, was shot in the chest by an arrow. After saying so much, wasn't it just to let her take this little bastard home for a while? Ling Xiaoqi glanced at Su Yiyan and then at Dun Dun. In the end, she let her daughter make the decision. Hua lazily climbed onto Ling Xiaoqi's lap and glanced at Dun Dun indifferently. Although it disliked it, it still patted Ling Xiaoqi's hand and didn't let her refuse. Ling Xiaoqi secretly sighed. Her son had grown up, but she also felt that raising a few puppies didn't make a difference. So she agreed and took Dun Dun and half a cart of dog food home. Su Yiyan watched as Ling Xiaoqi and the puppies left. She fell into Huan's arms and sighed. Huan looked at her and thought that she was sad about the puppy that had been sent away. She comforted her, don't be sad. A bad mood will also affect the baby. Didn't she still have 2 left? If you don't like it, we can find another one. Su Yiyan wasn't comforted at all and whined, Am I upset that little curly hair was taken away by someone else? I'm sad that my cooked sister-in-law flew away. Cooked sister-in-law? Hua Chenhuan froze. What kind of description was that? Yes. Hua Chenhuan was stunned for a few seconds before she realized what Su Yiyan meant. She pointed in the direction where Ling Xiaoqi had left and asked, "You mean her?" "Yes." "You want to matchmake her with your brother?" "Yes." Su Yiyan hugged Hua Chenhuan's waist and didn't want to say anything. She had indeed thought of matchmaking Ling Xiaoqi and her brother. After all, they knew each other very well. She didn't want to see Ling Xiaoqi being pestered by scumbags like in her previous life. She also didn't want to see her brother marry a troublemaker in the future. However, Ling Xiaoqi didn't seem very enthusiastic about dating, so she didn't mention it for the time being. She had originally planned to hold a small gathering like little Kanji's full moon celebration after she gave birth. She didn't need to invite too many people. She just wanted to invite a few close friends and relatives. When the two of them met and interacted, it would be best if they had a good impression of each other. Even if they didn't, she could give up early. In the end, before she could really take action, someone else beat her to it. How could Su Yiyan not be depressed? Hua Chenhuan could understand that Su Yiyan wanted to introduce Ling Xiaoqi to Su Yuxuan, but she couldn't understand why her cooked sister-in-law flew away. Isn't she still single? Why did she fly away? Chapter 761. When Ling Xiaoqi mentioned Ning Xiyuan just now, Hua Chenhuan wasn't there. Su Yiyan sighed and told him the whole story. "You mean she and Ning Xiyuan?" Hua Chenhuan frowned. "That can't be right?" Su Yiyan looked at him and said, "You don't understand. Hua Chenhuan? It's a woman's sixth sense. It's usually very accurate." Hua Chenhuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He couldn't help but tease her. "Did your sixth sense tell you that I should be your other half from the beginning?" Su Yiyan was shocked. She didn't expect to be teased while they were having a nice conversation. After being stunned for a moment, she chuckled. "Not really. A woman's sixth sense is usually more sensitive to gossip around her and whether her man has cheated on her. Maybe one day when you're not honest with me, my sixth sense will be activated and I'll instantly see through your lies. Then I'll have to be careful." Su Yiyan's eyes widened when she heard that. She sat up from Hua Chenhuan's arms and said angrily, "Okay, so you really wanted to lie to me." After saying that, she reached out to tickle Hua Chenhuan. Hua Chenhuan was worried that she would bump into something, so he didn't dare to dodge. He let Su Yiyan do whatever she wanted to him. Fortunately, Su Yiyan's stomach was still in pain. After a while, she got tired and collapsed in Hua Chenhuan's arms, panting. Hua Chenhuan couldn't help but kiss her and coax her softly. "I'm not lying to you." "Humph, a man's mouth is a liar." She was still in high spirits, wasn't she? The best way to deal with a wife who was throwing a tantrum was to kiss her until she couldn't speak. Big Boss Hua was very experienced with this sentence. Of course, the premise was that his wife was just throwing a tantrum and not really angry. It was only after Song Yunyuan was sent abroad that Su Yiyan realized that what this woman had done behind her back was not as simple as sending her photos. When she sent the photos, she also revealed Su Yiyan's pregnancy to Hua Qihan. On Hua Qihan's side, he had been upset and angry for several months because his son, whom he had painstakingly gotten, was suddenly gone. When he finally calmed down, he heard that Su Yiyan was pregnant. He was so angry that his blood pressure rose on the spot. After learning that Su Yiyan's pregnancy was already quite advanced, Hua Qihan even began to feel suspicious. Did Hua Chenhuan already know that he had a son at an old age? Did he have something to do with Xue Xiaoyu's miscarriage? Did he do it to make room for Hua Chenhuan's son? The repeated blows that he had suffered over the past year seemed to have made Hua Qihan mentally unstable. After a series of suspicions without any basis, he actually convinced himself. A few days later he came to see Hua Chenhuan and Su Yiyan. The reason why Hua Chenhuan did not publicly announce Su Yiyan's pregnancy was that she did not want these people to disturb her rest. Naturally, she would not let him in. Hua Qihan was even angrier when he was rejected. However, he did not have as much power as before, so he did not dare to force his way in. He cursed and left. A few days later, Su Yiyan received news that Hua Qihan had been impeached by the board of directors and was forced to resign. The new boss of the Hua group had become a mystery, causing internal turmoil. Why is it so sudden? Su Yiyan looked at the news in surprise and did not know how to react for a moment. It's just ahead of schedule. Ahead of schedule? Su Yiyan's mind flashed. Did you get the thing from Hua Xiaofeng? Chapter 762. I got it before. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows in confusion. Then why didn't you make it public earlier and pull Hua Qihan down? Yes. Hua Chenhuan reached out and touched Su Yiyan's belly. The little guy was getting bigger and livelier. From time to time he liked to play in his mother's belly, which made Su Yiyan suffer a lot. Perhaps he knew that it was his father who touched him, so the little guy moved. Hua Chenhuan felt the slight touch under his hand, and the smile in his eyes deepened. If I had made it public earlier, I wouldn't have had the time to stay at home with you. Su Yiyan was stunned for a few seconds before she understood what Hua Chenhuan meant. The Hua group was not like the companies under his control, which could be remotely controlled. Moreover, a new broom sweeps clean. Although Hua Chenhuan could pull Hua Qihan down with the help of the company's board of directors, these people just thought that he could create value for them. They might not be sincerely loyal to him. Needless to say, the employees in the company were replaced. There was turmoil at the bottom and people were in a state of panic. It was inevitable that a few people would jump out to make an example. Not to mention the chaos on the surface, they were not necessarily well behaved in the dark. If Hua Qihan had not been too inconsiderate and wanted to bully Su Yiyan at this time, Hua Chenhuan would not have bothered to deal with him at this time. Not only did he have to take over such a mess, but he also had to waste his time with the baby. Understanding this, Su Yiyan's mouth twitched slightly. If Hua Qihan knew that because of his mistake he had lost his high and mighty reliance in advance, and the other party was so disgusted with him, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood, right? After lamenting that someone was courting death, Su Yiyan suddenly thought of what Hua Xiaofeng had said that day. You should have fulfilled Hua Xiaofeng's request, right? Your parents matter. Do you think he will say this easily? Su Yiyan furrowed her brows. If it were her, of course she would not reveal her greatest trump card so easily. However, if that was the case, is he unwilling to say or does he not know at all? You've already... Hua Chenhuan looked at Su Yiyan's indignant look, and the anger in her heart was diluted. You better know. Hua Chenhuan patted her head. Don't worry about this. I have a way to make him talk. You just need to eat well, take care of the baby and maintain a good mood at all times. Su Yiyan curled her lips and complained, I know. You have to say that so many times every day. My ears are about to grow calluses. As her body became more and more cumbersome, the person in front of her seemed to have an anxiety disorder. She would do whatever she wanted, causing chaos in the house and making the servants miserable. In addition, a certain someone had turned on the repeater mode. She could repeat the same words countless times. She would forget about it the moment she said it and say it again. Although she knew that a certain someone was concerned about her, she was still a little embarrassed to be said like this all the time. She was no longer a child. Hua Chenhuan smiled and kindly accepted Su Yiyan's complaints. She would dare to do it again next time. Without these strange people who jumped up and down and couldn't bear to see them do well, Su Yiyan and Su Yiyan's days gradually returned to peace. However, it turned out that trouble would come to you even if you didn't look for it. Su Yiyan looked at the familiar face on the screen that made her scalp tingle and she felt uneasy. Chapter 763. Su Yiyan froze for a while until the person on the other side of the screen raised an eyebrow and looked puzzled. She finally came back to her senses. She couldn't help but exclaim, System, what's going on? This person. The familiar mechanical voice sounded in her mind. The host is right, the person standing on the other side of the screen is the world's male lead 2.0. What the hell is this world's male lead 2.0? Su Yiyan almost couldn't help but swear on the spot. What exactly happened? Did I miss some important plot point during my pregnancy? Why did Do Tianyi come to my shop? Do Tianyi stayed at the door for too long. Even the staff in charge of order realized something was wrong, and came over to talk to Do Tianyi. Su Yiyan didn't care much and first took a look at Do Tianyi's condition. It would have been better if she didn't see it, but after seeing it, Su Yiyan's face changed. Do Tianyi's condition wasn't much better than Hua Chenhuan's, and was even more serious than his. His illness was congenital and had long been integrated into his bones and blood. Over time, the blood circulation resistance also caused a certain burden on his heart. Usually it was fine, at most he would be a little weak, but once it started it would be very dangerous, especially when it was cloudy and rainy. It would be even more painful than old rheumatism. Su Yiyan had already made up her mind to not have anything to do with this person. But now that he came to her door, and as a customer, if she treated him differently, would it arouse suspicion? And Do Tianyi suddenly appeared in her shop. Was it a coincidence, or did he have other intentions? If she said she didn't want to do business with him now, would he have something to use against her? Su Yiyan's heart was full of twists and turns. She gritted her teeth, and asked someone to send him a chicken stem rice porridge and a rabbit stew with red dates. These two were medicinal dishes that nourished and strengthened the body, and had a certain anti-fatigue effect. A certain someone didn't look very energetic, so eating these two dishes was the right thing to do. Moreover, he was only here once, so the effect was limited. In a while, she would get someone to drag this person into the blacklist and get rid of all future troubles. Dou Qianyi, who had no idea that he was about to be blacklisted, was keenly aware of Su Yiyan's hesitation. Even after being led inside, Dou Qianyi's expression was still indescribably subtle, causing Liu, who had followed him in, to tense up and not dare to relax at all. He felt that his boss seemed to be brewing something bad. Fortunately, because of Su Yiyan's health, the number of customers at this time was reduced. Otherwise, Liu would not be able to find a seat. Thanks to young master, Dou Qianyi's 2 medicinal cuisines were quickly sent over. Add astragalus root, angelica, jujube, and cinnamon into the fresh black-bone chicken and boil it twice in water, allowing the essence of these herbs to penetrate into the black-bone chicken's flesh in advance. After that, take the medicinal juice, put it together with the chicken and rice, and simmer it over a small fire until it was sticky and sweet, and the aroma overflowed. Rabbit meat was rich in nutritional value, but if it was not handled well, there would always be a special fishy smell, which some people did not like. After adding Cotinopsis root, red dates, spring onions, and ginger to remove the fishy smell, the sweetness of the red dates and Cotinopsis root could suppress the fishy smell of the rabbit meat to a certain extent, making the soup look clearer and clearer. Liu had followed after eating, but at this time, when she smelled these two dishes, she couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Chapter 764. Dou Qianyi saw his greedy look, but he did not have the slightest intention of inviting him to enjoy the porridge together. Staring at Liu's inexplicably sad gaze, Dou Qianyi used a spoon to stir the porridge in front of him. Porridge had to be simmered in a clay pot over a small fire to make it sticky and sweet. The black-bone chicken meat and bones had already been scattered due to the long period of simmering. The bone marrow and delicious meat flavor had already seeped into the porridge, making it very tasty. In addition, there was still a portion of Chinese herbs left in the porridge. It looked similar to the small portion of Chinese herbs left in the Buddha jumps over the wall soup. Dou Qianyi lowered his eyes slightly and silently ate a mouthful of porridge. The porridge mixed with black-bone chicken and a few other herbs was sweet with a hint of sweetness. It was salty and light, and surprisingly, it suited his taste buds. Because of his allergies since young, Dou Qianyi rarely ate food made from natural ingredients. Most of the time he could only drink nutrient solutions. In the words of the relatives who fought over the family property with him, God gave him the identity of a young master, but did not give him a body to enjoy. This was the first time Dou Qianyi experienced the desire for good food. Although before this, Wen Jingping had also made some food for him that was good for his body. However, culinary skills required talent. Wen Jingping's advantage when she transmigrated to this era was that recipes were kept secret, and the price of natural ingredients was too high for ordinary people to afford. Once these two advantages were gone, her disadvantages would naturally be revealed. Dou Qianyi ate a few mouthfuls of porridge and reached out the spoon to the rabbit soup. Rabbit soup was something that his cousin had eaten a few years ago during a family gathering. At that time, that person was sitting not far from him. When the rabbit soup was served, Dou Qianyi almost vomited on the spot from the fishy smell. When the soup was first served, Dou Qianyi was actually a little unhappy. Now that he had eaten the porridge, he was curious about the soup. In addition, he didn't smell too much of the fishy smell. After hesitating for a moment, Dou Qianyi still tried to take a sip. The boiled rabbit meat was similar to black-bone chicken meat, but the meat was even more tender and soft than chicken meat. The sweetness of the Cotinopsis palacula and the sweetness of the red dates suppressed the strong smell of the rabbit itself, adding a different fragrance to it. With just one taste, Dou Qianyi's eyes lit up, and his hands unconsciously moved faster. The amount of the two medicinal cuisines wasn't much. It was barely enough for an adult man. Dou Qianyi naturally finished it all for himself. Liu, who was sitting opposite him, was so hungry that her eyes turned green. She regretted that she had volunteered to accompany Dou Qianyi. It was too uncomfortable to be able to only look but not eat. Half an hour later, Dou Qianyi reluctantly finished the last mouthful of soup. He felt his whole body warming up. He raised his head and gave Liu a look. Liu instantly understood and got up to walk to the other side. The medicinal cuisines in the restaurant were limited and couldn't be ordered. However, ordinary dishes like braised food could be bought and packed, but the quantity was relatively small. Liu used the excuse of packing to try to discreetly ask the employees in the restaurant about their manager. Your restaurant's business is really booming. My child only managed to get one spot after a long time. I heard that it used to be 100 spots. Recently it was cut in half, leaving only 50 spots. It's even harder to get. It's fine if you don't increase your business, but why did you cut it? Did something happen in the restaurant? Chapter 765. The employees in charge of their area looked at each other warily. You're not a viewer of our store manager's live stream, are you? Liu's expression did not change. He smiled and said, I'm not. My child is. It's just that the older the child is, the more ideas he has. He doesn't like to talk to us as parents. Liu vividly portrayed the image of an old father who worried about his adolescent child. It made the employees in the store lower their guard against him. Moreover, it was understandable that some elders were worried that their juniors would be too obsessed with some online celebrity stores that they did not know about. I see. Don't worry. Nothing happened in the store. Our store manager is pregnant and can't be too tired. That's why we reduced the quota. Liu pretended to be surprised. She's pregnant and still has to work in the store. That's too tiring. She's not in the store. She's just managing it remotely. You can do that? Is it usually like this, or is it only because of this special situation? It's usually like this. Then, Xiaowen, there are a few things here that need to be sent out. Come over and help. The waiter who was talking to Liu was stunned for a moment. He turned his head and met Cheng Yishuan's slightly warning gaze. He suddenly remembered that the store's rules did not allow him to casually reveal the store manager's information to customers. His face turned pale and he said stiffly, I'm sorry. I still have something to do, so I can't chat with you anymore. This is your braised food. Xiaowen handed the packed braised food to Liu and quickly turned to enter the small kitchen. The employees at the side were also minding their own business and did not have time to pay attention to him. Liu knew that he would not be able to get anything out of him if he continued to ask. Instead, it would be easy to arouse suspicion. He could only take the small box of braised food and leave regretfully. Dou Tianyi came out and was not surprised when he heard Liu's report. If it was really so easy to get information out of him, they would not have investigated for so long and only found so many clues. Have you found out how long Miss Su is pregnant? Yes. Liu breathed a sigh of relief without leaving a trace. Su Yiyin's pregnancy could be said to have been kept under wraps by the hospital. The Su and Qing families also did not announce it to the public, patiently waiting for the child to be born before celebrating. Even Song Yunyuan only found out about her pregnancy by chance because she had spent a lot of money to hire someone living near the family Hua mansion to investigate the whereabouts of Hua Chenhuan. Liu couldn't find out anything from the outside. In the end, she had to take a risk and get someone to sneak into the high-class residential area near the family Hua's old residence. Only then was she able to see Su Yiyan and her husband, who were out for a walk, and confirm the fact that Su Yiyan was pregnant. From the photo, it's at least 7 or 8 months old. 7 or 8 months. Dou Tianyi frowned. In other words, her child would be born in 2 months at most. Based on how much the family Hua valued her, she probably wouldn't be allowed to show her face outside for the next 2 months. In addition, after giving birth, she would have to go through confinement, which added up to 3 months. Thinking about his own health, Dou Tianyi's eyes turned cold. It seemed that he had to find a reason to visit them or force them to come out. Ask Uncle Qi to come to the house. From today onwards, I want to see a detailed health report about me every day. Uncle Qi was Dou Tianyi's personal doctor, and he had to go to the Dou family's house a few times a month. Dou Tianyi's move obviously showed that he had a certain guess about the owner of this shop. After this visit, Liu was also curious about Miss Su. She hurriedly said, "Okay, I'll contact Dr. Qi right away." Chapter 766. Although Su Yiyan didn't know that she was being watched closely, Dou Tianyi's sudden appearance still caught her off guard. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? You don't look well. Hua Chenhuan reached out and touched Su Yiyan's forehead. The slightly cold palm immediately woke Su Yiyan up from her daze. She grabbed Hua Chenhuan's hand and said hoarsely, "I saw someone in the shop just now." "Oh, Do Tianyi. Hua Qinhuan's expression changed slightly. Why would he come to your shop? What did he do? He didn't do anything. He just drew a slot to come over for a meal. Hua Qinhuan wasn't comforted at all. Instead, her expression turned even uglier. A meal? Why would he? It's my negligence. Su Yiyan looked regretful. I should have told Li Jingwen earlier to blacklist all these people. She had been too busy before, and after she got pregnant, her focus was completely on the child. Apart from the commotion caused by the announcement of the female lead in Hai Yi's drama, Su Yiyan hadn't thought about these two people for a long time. Moreover, Su Yiyan didn't expect that the male lead in this new world had already gotten together with Wen Jingping. To be precise, her livestream account had a certain personal grudge with Wen Jingping. Do Tianyi didn't even have time to be disgusted. Why would he rush to her shop to spend money? This was also the reason why Su Yiyan's first reaction when she saw Do Tianyi was to deliberately find fault with her to vent Wen Jingping's anger. Then did you get someone to cook something for him to eat? I did. But it's just a conservative soup. His illness is very serious. It can't be cured overnight. Even if you eat the medicinal cuisine in my shop, it's just a drop in the bucket. It won't be of much use. Hua Qinhuan was a little surprised to hear Su Yiyan's words. He had also asked someone to investigate Do Tianyi. It was just that this person was somewhat evil. It was said that he was weak and sickly, but the specifics of his illness were never revealed to the outside world. He only knew that because of his weak body, many people didn't think highly of this young master of the Do family, and at that time the Do family wasn't very harmonious. The appearance of a sickly successor inevitably made many people who originally harbored disloyalty restless. A few years ago, Do Tianyi's father had been killed in a fight for the position of the head of the family. At that time, Do Tianyi, who had lost his protective umbrella, had instantly become a pitiful person who could be bullied and humiliated by anyone. But no one would have thought that such a pitiful person would be able to use less than a few months to completely eliminate the Do family's internal strife. Those uncles who had fought for power with him were either dead or disabled. One or two of them had even gone missing. Although on the surface, it was said that these people were either accidents or suicides, and had nothing to do with Do Tianyi. But people with discerning eyes knew that Do Tianyi definitely had something to do with it. And since then there were rumors that this young Master Do was actually not sick at all. It was just that Do Tianyi's father purposely spread the news in order to draw out these disloyal people from the side branches. But ever since Do Tianyi took over the power of the Do family, this person rarely appeared in front of people. He was mysterious and dangerous. As for the truth, no one was able to find out. Now that he heard Su Yiyan say this, Hua Qinhuan was a little curious. Is it more serious than mine? And it's a lot more serious. Strictly speaking, Hua Qinhuan's leg was an external injury. Although it was serious, it wasn't life-threatening. Do Tianyi was different. If his illness wasn't treated properly, he would die. Chapter 767. After hearing what Su Yiyan said, Hua Qinhuan was even more certain that Do Tianyi had come prepared. If it were you, could you cure him? Su Yiyan was stunned. After a moment of silence, she shook her head. Not to mention that she was just a half-baked doctor. Even if she was a doctor who had grown up in a proper way, there were still many diseases that could not be cured. She was a human, not a god. She could work hard to change the fate of herself and the people around her, but after all, she could not be above all things and easily control the life and death of others. Seeing this, Hua Qinhuan could not tell whether she was more relieved or surprised. Her mood was a little complicated. His illness came from his mother's womb. It has been there since he was born. To be able to live until now, he must have thought of many ways to cure it over the years. Unfortunately, it can only be alleviated, not cured, and the effect is not very good. Su Yiyan had a flash of inspiration when she said this. Qinhuan, do you think he suddenly came to my shop because it's possible? Hua Qinhuan supported Su Yiyan and comforted her. Don't worry. He must have seen those people on the internet talking about your live broadcast room and came here on a whim. You just said that there won't be much of a change if he only eats it once. Even if there is a chance, I will ask Xiaoyang and the others to keep an eye on him. They won't be able to trace it back to you. Su Yiyan was comforted by his words and she felt a little relieved. She replied in a low voice, yeah. After comforting Su Yiyan, Hua Qinhuan took the time to go downstairs. The first thing he did was to call Gu Xiaoyang and the others and ask them to keep an eye on the Do family. Although he coaxed Su Yiyan to believe that Do Channy was just doing it on a whim, in fact, he knew better than anyone that Do Channy had been eyeing his wife for a few months. Now that he had not found her after circling around, he ran to Su Yiyan's shop. Obviously he did not intend to stop there. Before she could finish her sentence, Zheng Qianyang returned. Hua Chenhuan didn't hide it from him and finished her words in front of him. Zheng Qianyang got the gist of it and took the initiative to ask, "What happened to Yan Yan? Someone is investigating her." "Who?" "Do Tianyi." "Do Tianyi?" Zheng Qianyang's main business was not in China, and the Do family basically had nothing to do with Hua Chenhuan before this. Hearing this name out of the blue, he couldn't help but feel a little confused. Hua Chenhuan also noticed this and gave him a simple explanation about Do Tianyi, the Do family, and his relationship with Wen Jingping. "You're saying that the young master of the Do family is with the woman who harmed Yan Yan before?" Zheng Qianyang had heard about the bad debt between Su Yiyan and Hua Xiaofeng when he was abroad. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suspected that his nephew had been cuckolded as soon as Su Yiyan got pregnant. It was only during this period of time when he returned that Zheng Qianyang had seen how the two of them interacted and how much they had done for each other. On the contrary, Zheng Qianyang was glad that someone had been blind back then. She had let go of such a big treasure and instead, it had been picked up by his silly son. While Zheng Qianyang felt that it was ironic, he also didn't have a good impression of Hua Xiaofeng and the woman who knew that he had a fiancée but still claimed that she was his true love. After learning that Do Channy was related to this woman, Zheng Qianyang's first reaction was, "Is he here to cause trouble for Yan Yan?" "I don't think so." "Don't think so?" Hua Chenhuan frowned. Yan Yan said that he has a congenital disease and it's very serious. Zheng Qianyang froze and his expression became a little more serious. He wants to find Yan Yan to treat him? Chapter 768. That's not impossible. Hua Chenhuan hesitated for a moment, then told him about how she found out that Do Channy had secretly sent people to investigate Su Yiyan. "At that time I had people release a few smoke bombs to distract them. They did stop for a period of time." Hua Chenhuan believed in the skills of Yu Zian and the others. She thought that Do Channy had been busy for a few months and couldn't find anyone, so he took the risk and ran directly to Su Yiyan's store to try his luck. A certain someone who had fallen into a blind spot would never have thought that the person she had painstakingly lured out would be exposed by a diamond ring in the end. Zheng Qianyang heard his words and his expression became serious. He had noticed the things in Su Yiyan's hands after he came back. Although she did not know where she got these things, it was because of these things that Hua Chenhuan was able to recover to his current state. Zheng Qianyang had no intention of prying into the secrets of the younger generation, but he also knew that an ordinary man's wealth was his own ruin. When you were on the verge of death, some people wouldn't care if you were embarrassed or not. Human nature couldn't withstand the test of one's own life and interests. This is indeed a bit tricky. It's okay if the person who helped treat the patient knows how to be grateful, but if they take it for granted, then... Zheng Qianyang frowned. Since the young master of the Do family is with that woman, it's very likely that it's the latter. How could Hua Chenhuan not understand this? A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Yes. It would be best if Do Channy couldn't be found, but it didn't matter even if they found out. Since this person was with Wen Jingping, it was only a matter of time before they confronted each other. Do Channy's sudden appearance reminded Su Yiyan of Wen Jingping, who didn't have much of a presence during this time. Wen Jingping seemed to have kept a low profile during this time and didn't cause any trouble. After a careful investigation, he found out that it wasn't that she didn't want to cause trouble, but that she couldn't even protect herself and didn't have the energy to cause trouble. Ever since the day the crew announced her identity as the female lead of the new drama, Wen Jingping had been in deep trouble. A newcomer who had just entered the entertainment circle not long ago was cast as the female lead of a major production that the company had invested heavily in. This was enough to make countless people envious and jealous. Ever since she joined the cast and acted as the female lead of this drama, countless pairs of eyes in the company had been staring at her. Many female artists were secretly guessing how powerful her background was and how well off her family was to be able to become the female lead as soon as she entered the company. Before she could figure it out, Wen Jingping's previous comments gave her a heavy blow. Zhuo Wanshu's sudden withdrawal from the cast was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Actually, Wen Jingping did not have any feelings for Zhuo Wanshu. Rather, she was a little envious and jealous. After all, what Zhuo Wanshu had obtained was exactly what she had been dreaming of. However, she had never expected that Zhuo Wanshu would directly announce her withdrawal from the cast when she was being criticized by the entire internet. Zhuo Wanshu's actions were like roasting Wen Jingping on a fire. Even if she had given a reasonable reason before leaving, the blame was destined to fall on her. Wen Jingping was shocked and angry. Her first reaction was to run to Dou Qianyi for help and ask him to hide this woman who had disobeyed the company's arrangements. However, it turned out that Wen Jingping had overestimated herself. None of the countless calls she made went through, and Dou Qianyi completely lost contact from that day onwards. However, this wasn't the most terrifying thing. Chapter 769. Zhuo Wanshu did not care about the company's reputation and left without permission. Everyone thought that she was in big trouble. The female artistes in Hai-yi, who had been suppressed by Zhuo Wanshu, were waiting to see her make a fool of herself. They all wanted Zhuo Wanshu to make room for them. Unfortunately, these people were destined to be disappointed. After Zhuo Wanshu left the cast, she was not frozen. Instead, she took on a few high-end luxury brand endorsements. She was even chosen by an international director and successfully transitioned to the big screen. Her value was even higher than before, and she was not affected by her departure at all. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the company was on Zhuo Wanshu's side. On the other hand, Wen Jingping's situation instantly became awkward. These days, Wen Jingping felt that whether she went to the set or returned to the company, everyone looked at her with disdain. Some of the older artistes in the crew who had some opinions about her even started to get restless and were ready to go on strike at any time. However, they did not have Zhuo Wanshu's status and confidence, and they could not afford to pay the breach of contract, so they could only endure for now. Even so, Wen Jingping's treatment in the crew was not as good as before. Without Dou Qianyi's protection, Wen Jingping was in deep trouble every day. After being ignored for a month, she finally could not take it anymore. She took the initiative to go to Dou Qianyi's place to look for him, but she was rejected at the door. Dou Qianyi was not like Hua Xiaofeng, who was easily coaxed by her sweet words. Before she could get close to Dou Qianyi, she was stopped by Li Yu. Boss asked me to tell Miss Wen that there were conditions when he agreed to invest in this drama and let Miss Wen be the female lead. Since Miss Wen has met Boss's conditions, then Boss's promise to you naturally depends on the situation. Wen Jingping was stunned. Only then did she remember that when Dou Qianyi agreed to her request to invest in this drama, he had certain requirements for her acting skills. For this reason, Dou Qianyi even specially hired a professional teacher to teach her how to act. But in the end, Wen Jingping was just a person. In the original work, she had climbed to the top step by step. Even if he had the guidance of a famous teacher, it was easier said than done if he wanted to be as skillful as those old seniors who had been in the industry for many years in just 2 to 3 months. At that time, Miss Wen swore that she would perform well in this drama and make everyone look at her in a different light. But from the looks of it now, it's still unknown whether this series will be able to impress people in the future. However, Miss Wen, you don't seem to have the ability to gain the recognition of your colleagues in the production team. Li Yu had an appropriate smile on her face, but her eyes were cold as she looked at Wen Jingping. Boss told me to tell you that Zhuo Wanshu's matter will not happen again. There won't be any more problems with the production team's follow-up filming. This is the boss's final tolerance for you. I hope that Miss Wen will be able to grasp this final opportunity to film this movie well and earn back our boss's investment. Wen Jingping's eyes narrowed. What did he mean? What do you mean by not doing it again? What final tolerance? Wasn't Zhuo Wanshu's withdrawal from the production team her own fault? She didn't do anything. Why was he blaming her? Also, what did he mean by that last sentence? If she didn't film this movie well and earn back his investment, would Dou Qianyi give up on her? No, that couldn't be. He wouldn't do that to her. She was clearly his savior. Chapter 770. Wen Jingping had long seen that Dou Qianyi was different from Hua Xiaofeng. To him, benefits were paramount, and useless people were destined to be abandoned. But now that things had really come to this point, Wen Jingping couldn't help but feel bitterly disappointed. She increasingly regretted that she had chosen such a person in a hurry. Wen Jingping opened her mouth and was about to speak when Li Yu's cold gaze swept over her. She was so scared that she trembled. Her tone also weakened a lot. She braced herself and begged, "Mr. Li, I want to see him. I have something to say to him. Please let me in to see him." It was self-evident who this him was referring to. Li Yu looked at Wen Jingping with pity. It was as if he could already see this person's fate not long after. But pity was pity. He couldn't really let her in just because of a moment of pity. A pitiful person must have a hateful side. She couldn't understand her own position. In the end, no matter what she ended up in, it wouldn't be wrong. Miss Wen, if you have anything to say, you can tell me directly. I will pass on your message. Boss hasn't been in good health recently and has closed the door to visitors. Please understand, Miss Wen. When Wen Jingping heard what he said, her heart became even colder. Previously, she had accompanied Do Channy when he wasn't feeling well. At that time, she was immensely proud of herself. She felt that Do Channy was so dependent on her that he wouldn't be able to leave her in the future. Who would have thought that only a few months later she would actually fall out of favor? Wen Jingping almost clenched her teeth until they bled. What exactly went wrong? Wen Jingping was puzzled. Su Yiyan was also dumbfounded when he received the feedback from the people he had sent to keep an eye on Wen Jingping. Wen Jingping and Do Channy actually didn't live together? Do Channy lived in the old house of the Do family, but he arranged a small apartment for Wen Jingping outside? Su Yiyan was a little surprised. According to the original novel, Do Channy cared so much about Wen Jingping. Now that she had walked right into his trap, shouldn't he hide her at home? However, it was good news for Su Yiyan that the male and female leads of the aristocratic family were not as intimate as she had imagined. In the original work, Wen Jingping's biggest reliance was those who were willing to pave the way for her, and in the end, were forced to sacrifice themselves to fulfill her beautiful career and love with the male lead. Now that these things were gone, how could she continue to jump around? When the child was 9 months old, Qing Xiuqin finally moved into the family home mansion temporarily with all their belongings. The person who sent her here was Su Yuxuan. As soon as Su Yiyan saw her brother who was single, she immediately thought of her sister-in-law who had flown away. She looked at Su Yuxuan with a bit of grief in her eyes. As soon as Su Yuxuan met his sister's eyes, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. His intuition told him that she was thinking about something dangerous. Since Su Yiyan's pregnancy had caused a lot of trouble for the family, Su Yuxuan put down Qing Xiuqin and hurriedly ran away. He was afraid that if he was a few minutes late, he would become his sister's new toy, on a whim. As soon as Su Yuxuan ran away, Su Yiyan pulled Qing Xiuqin and said worriedly, "Mom, brother is not young anymore. It's time to find someone close to him to live with." Qing Xiuqin's eyes lit up. She grabbed Su Yiyan's hand and said excitedly, Right? I think so too. You see, your baby is about to be born, but your brother is still single. There doesn't seem to be any girls around him that are particularly suitable for him. Every time I talk to your dad about this, he always says there's no hurry. It's really the case that the emperor is not worried, but the eunuch is worried to death. Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh. Mom, are you treating yourself as a eunuch? Chapter 771. The baby in Su Yiyan's belly seemed to sense its mother's mood. It moved slightly to show its existence. Qing Xiuqin was stunned and glared at her angrily. It's just a metaphor. Okay. It's just a metaphor. But Dad is right. Brother is not in a hurry to get married, but he can't be in a relationship, right? Su Yiyan said curiously and moved closer to Qing Xiuqin. Mom, my brother is not bad looking. He's a rich second generation. He's tall, rich and handsome. Hasn't anyone chased after him? There has been. Qing Xiuqin frowned. But those girls are either impure or your brother doesn't like them. Su Yiyan muttered, Mom, haven't you thought about arranging a blind date for my brother? As soon as Su Yiyan said this, Hua Chenhuan, who was sitting opposite them, stopped what she was doing and looked up at her wife in surprise. Qing Xiuqin's expression froze and she didn't say anything. Su Yiyan sighed. Mom, are you still feeling guilty about what happened between me and Hua Xiaofeng? So you don't dare to arrange a blind date for my brother? Su Yiyan and Hua Xiaofeng's marriage contract was set by the parents of the two families. At that time, Qing Xiuqin thought that her daughter wouldn't suffer if she married him because she knew him well. Who would have thought that one could never judge a book by its cover? Because of her assumption, she almost pushed her daughter into the fire pit with her own hands. Once bitten, twice shy. Qing Xiuqin's current mentality was more or less the same. Mom, you're going down a dead end. Although there are people like Hua Xiaofeng's family in this world, there are also people like Chenhuan who can't overturn the whole boat with one pull. Qing Xiuqin. Although that's true, touch your conscience and ask yourself, are you deliberately mixing private goods into your words to show off your affection? Previously, there were indeed a few sisters who wanted to introduce girls to your brother. At that time, I also thought that your brother probably didn't like blind dates, so I rejected them all. You haven't even asked him. How do you know he doesn't like it? Cheng Xiuqing thought about it and agreed. Then I'll go back and ask him? Yes. Su Yiyan paused for a moment before she continued. Actually, Mom, you could have gotten someone to check on the girl's character, family background, and personality before you made the arrangements for brother. Of course, you can't ask your sisters about it and have someone secretly investigate it. After all, what you hear may be false, but seeing is believing. Since she was worried, she would send someone to investigate in advance. After a round of screening, she would let her brother go. This way, not only would it save both of them time, it would also reduce many unnecessary conflicts. Cheng Shuiqin was a little moved by Su Yiyan's words. That's a good idea. Right? That's why they say that seeing is believing. Help brother check on this aspect first and then let him contact her. You can rest assured. Otherwise, if my brother is blinded by beauty and finds a flirtatious slut back home, will our family still have peace? Yes, what you said makes sense. Hua Chenhuan sat at the side and watched as her daughter-in-law secretly helped her mother-in-law arrange blind dates for her brother-in-law. She looked very much like a treacherous official who slandered the emperor in ancient times. In her heart, she silently lit a row of candles for her brother-in-law. She only hoped that he would be strong and not collapse because of the upcoming blind date army. Achoo! Big brother Su, who had escaped at the fastest speed, couldn't help but sneeze loudly. Why did he feel cold all over on such a sunny day? He had really seen a ghost. Chapter 772. Su Yiyan suffered a lot during her pregnancy. At first, she had morning sickness for more than half a month. Later, when she felt better, she felt sore and weak in her limbs and was extremely sleepy. In the later stages of her pregnancy, her stomach was very heavy, and her feet were so swollen that she could not wear shoes. Hua Chenhuan was so anxious that he wanted to suffer for her, but there was nothing he could do. Later, he heard that it would be much better to massage Su Yiyan's feet before going to bed. So, he helped her soak her feet and massage it on time every day. He was so virtuous. Su Yiyan sat on the edge of the bed and could clearly feel Hua Chenhuan's hands pressing back and forth on his heels and calves. His little face was slightly red. It was unknown whether it was because he was shy or because of the steam from the hot water in the basin. If the employees in your company see you like this, they will definitely lose all their dignity. Why should I be dignified in front of my wife? Hua Chenhuan looked up at Su Yiyan and smiled slightly. Only those who are not capable will be arrogant at home. Those who were capable would have vented all their emotions outside. Why would they bring it home? Su Yiyan smiled and deliberately teased him. Don't you think it's shameful? What's so shameful about doting on my wife? Have you forgotten that your husband is a henpecked husband outside? Outside is outside. At home is not outside. So, at home, you have to work harder to consolidate your image so that you won't be exposed when you go out. Hua Chenhuan said and leaned over to kiss Su Yiyan. Besides, didn't you massage me like this in the past? Do you think it's shameful? Su Yiyan was stunned. She lowered her head and touched Hua Chenhuan's forehead. No. Then it's fine. Hua Chenhuan's eyes flashed with a smile, but soon the smile was replaced by heartache. Does it hurt? Hua Chenhuan touched Su Yiyan's swollen ankle as if he was touching a fragile object. It doesn't hurt. This is normal. It means that the baby is growing well in the womb. As soon as Su Yiyan finished speaking, the baby in her stomach gave a cheerful response. Seeing this, Hua Chenhuan touched her little belly and said seriously, when the baby is born, you have to treat your mother well. Otherwise, I'll spank him. Su Yiyan glared at him reproachfully. He's not even born yet. How would he know these things? While he still doesn't understand, let's set some rules in advance so that it'll be easier to control him in the future. Su Yiyan. I suspect that you are deliberately bullying an ignorant child, and I have evidence. Hua Chenhuan, who had accurately received his wife's resentful gaze, smiled slightly and decisively changed the topic. Why did you suddenly think of arranging a blind date for your brother? My sister-in-law has already flown away. It's not good for my brother to continue being single. Su Yiyan didn't mention this before because she wanted to matchmake Ling Xiaoqi and her brother. Now that Ling Xiaoqi had feelings for another man, this path naturally wouldn't work. You don't know. My brother is different from others. Different? Hua Chenhuan raised his eyebrows. How is he different? Could it be that he couldn't do it? Su Yuxuan. You can't do it. Your whole family can't do it. Su Yiyin didn't know what Hu Chenhuan was thinking. She only sighed and said, "My brother dated a woman when he was in university. That woman was ambitious. Her motive for getting close to my brother wasn't very simple." Chapter 773. This was actually a little secret of the Su family. After all, it was one of the few dark histories of Su Yuxuan when he was young and ignorant. Don't look at my brother now. Although he's very good at business, he's a blank piece of paper when it comes to relationships. When that woman was dating him, she ate his food and used his money. She even thought of all kinds of ways to make my brother buy her expensive things to get money from him. Although the Su family was considered a slightly above average wealthy family, they had been strict with the children in the family since they were young. Su Yiyin was fine. Because she was the youngest child of two families and the only girl, it was inevitable that the elders would help her with her pocket money. Su Yuxuan was different. Cheng Xiuqin and his wife had always controlled his pocket money to a certain extent. If he wanted to spend more, he had to earn it himself. This had never changed before he took over the company. Fortunately, that woman saw that although Su Yuxuan was willing to spend money on her, he had limited money. So, she only cheated him of his money but not his body. Otherwise, Su Yiyin felt her scalp go numb just thinking about having such a sister-in-law. This was the first time Hu Chenhuan had heard of this. After all, he had only asked people to keep an eye on Su Yiyin all these years. In his eyes, Su Yuxuan and the others were just relatives who had a good relationship with Su Yiyin. They were worthy of his love for her. What happened later? Su Yiyin pouted and snorted. Later, that woman lied that something happened at home and urgently needed a sum of money. She took the last bit of money from my brother. Then, she sold the luxury goods my brother bought for her and went abroad to study. Hu Chenhuan's eyes flashed. Your brother was broken up? You can say that. That woman didn't break up with my brother. She used the excuse that she had something to do and went out with her family to visit relatives. She unilaterally broke off contact and went missing. If her brother hadn't been unable to contact this woman and was worried that something had happened to her, he wouldn't have found out that this woman had applied to study abroad as early as half a year ago. At that time, she had only been dating Su Yuxuan for 3 months. For almost a year, she had kept this matter a secret. Even though Su Yuxuan vaguely felt that she was hiding something from him and took the initiative to ask, she never thought of confessing. She even deliberately avoided the topic and talked about other things. Now that things had developed to this point, Su Yuxuan finally realized that what he thought was a beautiful love was just a cheap deception. In the eyes of his so-called girlfriend, she was just a moving ATM. Hearing this, Hu Chenhuan's expression was extremely subtle. She really couldn't imagine that her brother-in-law, who had so many tricks up his sleeves and who even Zhu Yanbai had to sigh as a smiling tiger, actually had such a brainless and tragic love history. Love really made people lose their intelligence. Since then, my brother hasn't had a girlfriend. He's also very cold to his pursuers. Even when I'm talking about marriage, he's still single. His blank love history was left with a thick and heavy stroke just like that. It was easy to imagine the psychological shadow he had. Although this matter had successfully evolved his brother, a glutinous rice ball, into a super strong version of sesame glutinous rice ball, and at the same time activated the automatic bitch identification function. Since then, he focused on his career and helped his father share a lot of work, allowing him to live a semi-retired life early. Chapter 774. But the damage couldn't be erased. Even if Su Yuxuan appeared to be at ease over the years, just by looking at how he avoided those crazy bees and butterflies like snakes and scorpions, one could tell that this hurdle was definitely not so easy to overcome. Because of this, Cheng Xiuqin was more nervous and cautious about his marriage than Su Yiyin, fearing that he would accidentally touch a mine again. Hu Chenhuan seemed to have sensed something. So, you wanted to introduce Xiaoqi to your brother before? Yes, at least I know her background. I still trust Xiaoqi's character, and their personalities are very compatible. It was a pity that someone came out of nowhere. However, Su Yiyin now felt that his one-sided matchmaking might not be a good thing for the two of them. Forget it, everyone had their own fate. Since Ling Xiaoqi wasn't her brother's fate, then her brother's fate must be with an unknown woman. He couldn't force it. That's why I just said that my brother is different. That woman's harm to him is far greater than imagined. At this time, if no one helps to give him a push, I don't know when he can muster up the courage to find his other half. Su Yiyin paused and sighed. Of course, in addition I also want to find something for my mother to do. Find something to do. Hua Chenhuan picked up the towel on the side and helped Su Yiyan dry his feet. Don't you think you're all too nervous? Su Yiyan reached out and held Hua Chenhuan's cheek, so that he could only look up at him and look at him. Whether it's mom or you, you've been too nervous during this period of time. This is not good. Although he knew that they were worried that he would suffer during childbirth, emotions could easily affect the people around him. Even if this wasn't their original intention, some things couldn't be controlled just because they wanted to. Sorry. Hua Chenhuan held Su Yiyan's hand. He thought that he had concealed it well, but he didn't expect that Su Yiyan had always known. There's no need to apologize to me. I know what you're worried about. Su Yiyan pressed Hua Chenhuan's head against his stomach so that he could hear the child's strong heartbeat. It'll be fine. The baby and I will be fine. Hua Chenhuan's eyes flashed with an unfathomable light, but her hands did not relax in the slightest. Yes. The little guy was born a few days earlier than the expected date of delivery. It was a stormy night, and Su Yiyan suddenly gave birth ahead of time, causing everyone in the family Hua to be a little flustered. After realizing that something was wrong, Hua Chenhuan immediately carried Su Yiyan and rushed to the hospital. For the sake of taking care of Su Yiyan, Cheng Xiuqin had been living next door to the two of them. When she heard the noise, she woke up from her sleep. She didn't have time to pack anything before she got into the car with her daughter and son-in-law. Su Yiyan could feel her stomach twitching. At first it was fine, but later on the pain became more and more intense. She subconsciously held Hua Chenhuan's hand tightly. After a few rounds, a layer of sweat appeared on their intertwined hands. After enduring another bout of pain, Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief. She turned to look at the person beside her and was amused. What's wrong with you? Your face is paler than mine. If I didn't know better, I might think that you're the one giving birth instead of me. Hua Chenhuan's lips trembled, but she didn't say anything in the end. She just hugged Su Yiyan tighter as if this could relieve the pain. She held her tightly in her hands and no one could take her away. Chapter 775. The family Hua mansion was actually not far from the nearest hospital. Usually it would take about 10 to 20 minutes to get there. However, because of the heavy rain it took more than 10 minutes to get there. It took more than half an hour. As soon as they entered the hospital, Su Yiyan was pushed away. Hua Chenhuan wanted to follow them, but he was stopped by the nurse and Cheng Xiuqin. It's useless for you to follow them. Wait here patiently. Cheng Xiuqin looked at his son-in-law in front of him, whose face was even paler than his own daughter's. At the same time he could not help but sigh helplessly. The light above the delivery room was like a heavy hammer hanging over their heads. Their hearts were in their mouths and their minds were blank. When Su Yuxuan and his son received the news, they rushed to the hospital as fast as they could and waited with Cheng Xiuqin and Cheng Xiuqin. Uncle Zhang also came by to deliver some clean clothes and supper. Unfortunately, no one was in the mood to eat at this time. They waited outside for 3 to 4 hours. When the sky was dimly lit, the closed door finally opened. Hua Chenhuan rushed over immediately, looking nervous and expectant. The pregnant woman gave birth to a baby boy. Both mother and child are safe. That's great. Thank God, thank God. Cheng Xiuqin breathed a sigh of relief and hurried forward, wanting to see his newborn grandson. The little guy had just been born. Just like little porridge, his little face was red, his eyes could not open, and his tender little hands looked very fragile. Hua Chenhuan only glanced at the baby to make sure he was safe. Then she turned her attention back to Su Yiyan in the delivery room. Because it was a natural birth, Su Yiyan was still very awake when she was pushed out, although she was very tired. Hua Chenhuan saw the car being pushed out and immediately went to greet it. Su Yiyan saw him and could not help but laugh. Have you seen the baby? Yes. Hua Chenhuan's eyes were slightly red. He looks very much like me. Nonsense, a baby boy should look like his mother. When Hua Chenhuan heard her words, a hint of a smile appeared in his eyes. He unconditionally corrected himself and said, Yes, I was wrong. The baby is more like you. Only then was Su Yiyan satisfied. His eyelids began to fight. Hua Chenhuan's heart trembled. Before she had time to think, the words had already left her mouth. Yin. Su Yiyan looked at him in confusion. Oh. Hua Chenhuan leaned over and kissed her sweaty forehead. Thank you for bringing me such a special gift. Su Yiyan's mind was still a little slow. He was stunned for a few seconds before his eyebrows relaxed. He laughed and scolded, Idiot. Su Yiyan was so tired that she fell asleep as soon as she was pushed into the ward. Hua Chenhuan sat next to her and waited for her to fall asleep. Only then did she remember to tell her family about the good news. Su Yiyan's father went to inform the Qing family and Su Yiyan's aunt. Hua Chenhuan only called Uncle Zhang and Zheng Qianyang to tell them. The old man, who had been in the family Hua for most of his life, immediately cried tears of joy when he heard that Su Yiyan had successfully given birth to a baby boy. After hanging up the phone, he immediately told Zheng Qianyang about the news. Of course, he received a surprise from his uncle today. After Hua Chenhuan told his family about the good news, he suddenly remembered a popular way to show off children on the internet. He immediately took a few photos of his son and sent them to Yuzian and the others. The three of them had just woken up and were getting ready to go to work after washing up. They were a little confused when they suddenly received these photos. Chapter 776. Zui Yanbai quickly understood the meaning of Hua Chenhuan's picture, and her eyes lit up. Yu Zian and Gu Xiaoyang's reaction was a little slow. They almost thought that Hua Chenhuan's account had been hacked. For this reason, the two of them deliberately communicated in the small group chat. What's going on? Young master suddenly sent me a few pictures. Did you guys receive them? You're talking about that bright red picture of a woman? Day. I received them too. Why did young master suddenly send these pictures? Was his account hacked? It's possible. Zui Yanbai. In fact, the two of them couldn't be blamed for thinking this way. After all, these kinds of revealing pictures could easily make people think of those pornographic pictures that hackers like to send. As a result, the two of them were distracted and didn't think in that direction at all. Zui Yanbai was speechless for a moment and decided to remind these two fools. Those are children's feet. Children's feet? Gu Xiaoyang's expression changed slightly. He had already guessed it. Yu Zian still asked foolishly, what's wrong with children's feet? Gu Xiaoyang was disappointed. What's wrong with them? Of course, it means that a new baby is born. A new baby is born? Yu Zian suddenly realized. You mean, the crown prince is born? Gu Xiaoyang, Zui Yanbai. What kind of description was that? But after thinking about it carefully, it didn't seem wrong. Ahem, you can say that. Oh my god. Didn't they say that it would take another week? Why is it so early? Didn't young madam's aunt give birth a few days earlier? It's just an estimate, so it's not necessarily accurate. So, is young master showing off the baby to us? Kind of. Then how should we react? Zui Yanbai thought for a while and gave a reasonable suggestion. Send a red packet. Red packet. 2-inch young master's baby is something worth celebrating. Isn't it normal to send a red packet to the crown prince to celebrate? Gu Xiaoyang thought about it and found that it did make sense. Then how much should we send? Therefore, the three of them gathered together and discussed for a long time. In the end, they decided to send us 666 to Hua Chenhuan to make up for it. When Su Yiyan woke up, she saw Hua Chenhuan sitting on the edge of the bed and looking at his phone. As soon as she moved, Hua Chenhuan's attention immediately moved away from the phone. He leaned in front of her and said with concern, "You're awake? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Su Yiyan shook her head. Looking at the dark circles under Hua Chenhuan's eyes, she felt distressed. "You didn't sleep all night?" Hua Chenhuan wrapped his hands around Su Yiyan's. He lowered his head and kissed the back of her hand. "I can't sleep," he said hoarsely. At first he was worried. Later on he was still worried. However, he felt more heartache and excitement. Su Yiyan reached out and touched his face. Then, she thought of the baby she had given birth to with great difficulty. Where's the baby? Just now, Mom brought him over and looked at him for a while. He's hungry now, so she took him to breastfeed him. Su Yiyan was a little disappointed when she heard that. She was too tired at that time. She only took a quick look at the baby when he was wrapped up. Strictly speaking, she didn't take a good look at the baby. Hua Chenhuan saw her sadness and comforted her. "Mom will bring him back for you to see when she's done feeding him. I just looked at him carefully. The baby's eyes and mouth are like yours and his nose is like mine." Su Yiyan's eyes lit up, and she instantly became energetic. "Really?" Chapter 777. When the little guy was carried out of the operating room, he couldn't even open his eyes. After a few hours of adapting outside, He slowly opened his big black grape-like eyes. Hua Chenhuan fell in love with the pair of big eyes that resembled Su Yiyan's at first glance. He felt that his child really took after the two of them and was pleasing to the eye. Of course it's true. Hua Chenhuan reached out and tapped Su Yiyan's nose. He said meaningfully, "Who else can our child take after if he doesn't take after us?" Su Yiyan's little face blushed slightly. She also remembered the words she argued with Hua Chenhuan when she was just delivered. She was a little embarrassed and decisively changed the topic. She coughed softly and said, "Where are my father and brother?" "They didn't sleep the whole night. I asked them to go back and rest first." "They didn't sleep the whole night. Didn't you also not sleep the whole night?" "I'm young. It's not a problem." Su Yiyan. Although it was the truth, why did it sound like you were showing off when you said it? If her father and brother heard this, who knew how they would deal with him? Especially her brother. Strictly speaking, he was only a few years older than him. If he was suddenly implicated like this, he would definitely gnash his teeth in hatred. "Oh right, my grandfather and Uncle Zhang, Uncle and the others. Dad has already informed Grandpa. I also called home to tell them. Uncle Zhang is probably busy preparing delicious food for you and the baby." Su Yiyan suddenly remembered what Hua Chenhuan was doing when she woke up. "You were sending them a message just now?" "Xiao Yang and the others sent me a red packet." "Red packet?" Su Yiyan was a little surprised. Generally speaking, shouldn't it be Hua Chenhuan, the boss, who sent them red packets? Hua Chenhuan didn't say anything. Instead, he turned the screen to Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan's gaze was instantly attracted by the little foot at the top. "Is this the baby's foot?" "Yes, it was taken just now." Su Yiyan's gaze softened in an instant, and he sighed from the bottom of his heart. "So cute." Then she saw the blessings and red packets at the bottom of the page and burst into laughter. "It's not easy for them to make money." Hua Chenhuan looked up at her and said sadly, "It's not easy for your husband to make money. But you have me to support you." Hua Chenhuan's eyes lit up. She was instantly convinced. She turned around and gave the three of them a red packet with an additional 6. After the three of them received the red packets, they immediately replied, "Thank you, boss." In his heart, however, he was secretly regretting it. If he had known earlier, he would not have been so stingy. He should have sent an extra 6. However, their remorse was soon soothed. Hua Chenhuan sent another message, asking them to give the employees a bonus this month. The three of them immediately understood what their boss was implying. They quickly sent the pictures that Hua Chenhuan had sent them to the group, along with the accompanying text. "The birth of the crown prince is a cause for celebration. Everyone's bonus this month will be doubled." As soon as this message was sent, everyone in the group exploded. The lady at the front desk. The pillar of the publicity department. The flower of the technical department. After a long row of exclamation marks appeared on the screen, someone finally asked in a trembling voice, "The head of the publicity department, the crown prince? Is it what I think it means? You is not a fish, what do you think it means? If it's not what you think it means but what everyone thinks it means, then it means what you think it means. Xiao Yang Ruhua. Zua is not Zua." Chapter 778. Xiaoyang Ruhua, no nesting dolls. Speak human language or I'll kick you out right now. You is not a fish, aggrieved. You is not a fish, alright that's right. It's exactly what you think it means. Madam gave birth last night, and the little prince was born early. The dragon is overjoyed and everyone is celebrating. I'll give you guys a raise. As soon as he said this, the group exploded again. Front desk lady, congratulations madam for giving birth to little boss in advance. Congratulations to boss for having a little prince. Pillar of the publicity department. So that picture was of the little prince's little Giorgio. No wonder it looks so hot and cute. Flower of the technical department. What a chubby little Giorgio. It's the cutest. I really want to take a bite. Front desk lady, seconded. Children's Giorgio are so cute every time I see it. It's so cute that a single old dog like me can't help but want to steal a child every day. Front desk lady, the two weird aunties upstairs, your thoughts are very dangerous. You dare to bite the little prince's foot and steal big boss's child. I respect you guys as real men. Front desk lady, F***CK you're real men. How dare you call me a weird auntie? Are you itching for a beating? Big bro from the technical department. Little prince, this little Giorgio, The soles of his feet are round and smooth like white jade, sparkling and translucent. His toes are smooth and childish like pearls. Everyone in the group. Amazing. They only knew that the technical department was good at coding, but they didn't expect them to be so good at bootlicking. The cute people in the publicity department and public relations department suddenly felt that their jobs were facing an unprecedented threat. They could lose their jobs at any time. They immediately sat up straight and rubbed their palms together. They started to bootlick at the pictures taken by Huo Chenhuan. They couldn't wait to blow those two chubby little Giorgio up into the sky. By the time Yu Zian and the others packed up and left, the group was already full of bootlicking. Some people even closed their eyes and started to boast that their freshly minted little prince was a god who had descended to the mortal world. Yu Zian and the others. As expected of you guys. However, the most effective way to please parents was to praise their children. Huo Chenhuan looked at the screen full of praises for their little prince and smiled slightly. She turned the screen back to Su Yiyan, looking like she was asking for credit. At first, Su Yiyan didn't realize what he was trying to do. However, when he saw the rainbow farts in the group and the colorful notice in the group announcement, he immediately understood the cause and effect. At that moment he didn't know whether to be angry or amused. So, you spent money to buy a bunch of praises for our Zai Zai? This wastrel. Did he ever consider the cost of the baby's milk powder? Huo Chenhuan raised her chin and said confidently, aren't they telling the truth? His and Su Yiyan's children were the most beautiful and intelligent children in the world. From a silly father whose baby filter was a few meters thick. Su Yiyan choked. She really couldn't refute him. In her eyes, no matter how other people's children were, her own was definitely the best. You. Su Yiyan glared at him. Our baby is already born. Have you prepared the money for his milk powder? Huo Chenhuan laughed. I prepared it a long time ago. Other than the money for milk powder, there's also money for diapers, clothes, toys and anything else you can think of. Su Yiyan was satisfied and rewarded him with a look of appreciation. Chapter 779. Although she complained, Su Yiyan also understood Huo Chenhuan's eagerness to show off her baby. After all, she was also preparing to show off her baby. Su Yiyan's desire to flaunt her baby began to stir as she looked at the group chat that was still spammed with sincere flattery. Do you think I should give them some benefits? A few minutes ago, she was still complaining about a certain someone's prodigal behavior. How long had it been since she caught up with her husband's pace and began to show off her baby happily? Huo Chenhuan held back his laughter and reached out to stroke her hair. He coaxed her gently, wait until the baby is a month old. At that time, find a big place and invite all the employees in your shop over. Let them have a good meal. I guarantee that they will be happier than any other benefits. Su Yiyan was persuaded. Thinking that she could personally hold the baby in a month's time and show off in front of so many people, she was a little moved. After the two of them talked for a while, Cheng Xiuqin came over with the little guy who had eaten and drunk to his heart's content. Yin, you're awake. Come and see our baby. He just drank milk and will fall asleep in a while. Cheng Xiuqin said as he put the little guy beside Su Yiyan's pillow. Su Yiyan looked at the little baby and felt that her heart was about to melt. She carefully touched his little hand and greeted him cheerfully. Baby, I'm mommy. The little guy looked much bigger than when little Porridge was born. His big black eyes rolled around without focus. It was unknown if he could see the faces of the people around him clearly. After drinking milk, the little guy's mouth still squirmed from time to time, as if he was savoring the aftertaste. His big eyes were wide open and he began to fight. He trembled and closed his eyes, then suddenly opened them again. After that, he slowly closed them again and opened them again. After a few times the little guy finally fell asleep. His fleshy little face slightly tilted in the direction of his small hands. His small fists, which were not as big as a custard bun, would occasionally loosen slightly, but they would quickly clench tightly. It was obviously a simple and monotonous action, but Su Yiyan felt that she could concentrate on watching it for an entire day. Are you asleep? Cheng Xiuqin lowered his voice and asked. Yes. Su Yiyan couldn't help but reach out and touch the child's little face. The soft and smooth touch of her fingertips made her heart tremble. She was afraid that she would accidentally hurt him if she used too much strength. The baby seems to be bigger than Kanji. Isn't it bigger? Cheng Xiuqin smiled and said, when the Porridge was born it was only about 6 kilograms. Our little guy is almost 8 kilograms. It's more than half a kilogram heavier. How can it not be bigger? A caddies? That's quite big. When Qing Xiuqin heard his daughter's soft sigh, he felt a little distressed. He sighed and said, "No wonder you've been in labor for so long. The baby is too big. You'll have to suffer more when you give birth." Hua Chenhuan, who had been standing by the bed without uttering a word, suddenly looked at the little guy. Too big and had to suffer more when he gave birth. TSK, it seemed that she had to control this little brat's diet in the future. He only knew how to steal his mother's nutrients when he was in her womb. Eating so stupidly, he must be someone who didn't know how to control his appetite. She had to keep a close eye on him to prevent him from eating too much. In less than half a day, the little prince, who had turned the little baby into a little brat's family Hua, was speechless. "Dad, you're really a logical genius." Chapter 780. The little guy, who didn't know that because he was too heavy when he was born, his status in the family had rapidly declined. He was keenly aware of a trace of danger. He couldn't help but shiver in his sleep and kick his little brother hard. Although Uncle Zhang didn't stay with Hua Chenhuan and the others to wait for the baby to be born, he didn't sleep much the whole night. When he received a call from Hua Chenhuan at dawn in the morning, Uncle Zhang was happy and immediately asked the servants to stew a lot of light soup and water. It was sent to the two of them at 8 or 9 o'clock. Hua Chenhuan was busy feeding Su Yiyan porridge. Uncle Zhang and Jing Qianyang surrounded the little guy in the crib and whispered to each other. "The little master's eyes and mouth are like young madam's. His nose is like Chenhuan's, but his face shape is a bit like brother-in-law's." The two of them gathered together and chattered about the little guy's appearance. Su Yiyan listened on the side and couldn't help laughing. "Is what they said true? The baby looks a bit like your father?" Hua Chenhuan was also a little confused and said uncertainly, "Maybe. Except for the baby's eyes and Su Yiyan's, the nose and mouth were all like Qing Xiuqin's. As for the face shape, the couple, who were inexplicably blind to the child's appearance, stared at each other for a long time and finally gave up exploring this aspect. Although the two adults could keep their voices down, the sleeping little guy moved his hands and feet. His little mouth pouted and he was about to cry. Jing Qianyang, who was old and single, was shocked. He took a step back reflexively and exclaimed, old Zhang, he's going to cry, he's going to cry." It was the first time that Su Yiyan saw Zheng Qianyang so flustered. She couldn't help but laugh. Zheng Qianyang also realized that his reaction was a little too big and looked embarrassed. He had never been able to do anything with this kind of soft little fellow. Even Hua Chenhuan had waited until he could crawl and walk before she dared to carry him. Uncle Zhang had helped Mrs. Hua take care of Hua Chenhuan when she was a baby. When he saw that the baby was about to cry, he immediately picked her up from the crib and coaxed her skillfully. The little fellow sobbed a few times and was really coaxed by him. He opened his big eyes that were washed by tears and looked around curiously at everything. The people in the ward were surprised to see this. "I didn't expect Uncle Zhang to have the ability to raise children." When Uncle Zhang heard Su Yiyan's words, he immediately puffed up his chest proudly and said with a faint smile, "When Madam gave birth to young master, her body wasn't very good. During that time, Sir was basically accompanying Madam. Young master is taken care of by me and another retired maid." Su Yiyan and Hua Chenhuan looked at each other. "We'll have to trouble you then." Uncle Zhang's face lit up. "Don't worry, young madam. I'll definitely take good care of young master." Zheng Qianyang also felt a little envious when he saw Uncle Zhang carrying the baby. However, when he saw the little fellow's tender appearance, he controlled his dangerous thoughts and coughed lightly. "Has he been named?" "Yes. His full name is Hua Xingyan, and his nickname is Little Star. Yinyan's grandfather named him." Zheng Qianyang looked regretful. If it was Su Yiyan's parents, he could still fight for it. However, Su Yiyan's grandfather was older than him, so he couldn't win. Hua Chenhuan saw the change in Zheng Qianyang's expression and was once again grateful for her foresight. Father Su had just asked this question in the morning. Everyone wanted to name their child, but it wasn't appropriate for anyone to do so. Only old Master Cheng, who was older, could suppress them. Chapter 781. Hua Chenhuan had perfectly resolved a family dispute that might have been caused by the naming of the baby. Su Yiyan's baby was born naturally and recovered faster than a C-section. Logically speaking, she didn't need to stay in the hospital for too long. After staying in the hospital for about 5 days, Su Yiyan brought the baby home. Hua Chenhuan had been staying in the hospital to accompany his wife and child for the past few days. Uncle Zhang, on the other hand, had taken care of everything after returning home. He wanted to ensure that Su Yiyan and the baby could recuperate without any worries. The most obvious change was Su Yiyan's postnatal confinement menu. Steamed eggs with minced meat, crucian carp tofu soup, peanut pork trotter soup, peanut rice porridge, small wontons, celery and pork slices. Su Yiyan's eyelids twitched when she saw the dishes on the table. She suddenly had an ominous premonition. She could understand the other dishes, but she remembered that she had never taught the chefs at home to make the crucian carp tofu soup, peanut pork trotter soup and peanut rice porridge. How did they? These dishes were made by our chefs. Uncle Zhang smiled and said, "Yes, young madam, you are in urgent need of all kinds of nutrients. These dishes were ordered by the chefs and nutritionists. In order to help you recuperate better, we even contacted your aunt, young madam." Su Yiyan widened her eyes in surprise. "When? Before you gave birth? Why didn't I know?" "Young madam, you were already having a hard time when you were pregnant. We all agreed that there was no need to bother you with such a small matter." "We?" "Everyone in the family, including young master." "Su Yiyan. So I'm the only one who didn't know." Uncle Zhang didn't notice Su Yiyan's sadness and continued with a smile. "These dishes were learned from the chefs at young madam's aunt's place. It's said that eating them now is effective." A female chef at the side very tactfully took over the conversation. "Urge milk." Su Yiyan, Hua Chenhuan. A suffocating silence spread over the table until the little fellow at the side felt that he was being ignored and cried out. Su Yiyan felt as if she had just woken up from a dream. The blush on her face instantly spread from her cheeks to her neck. Hua Chenhuan coughed softly and shot a warning glance at Uncle Zhang, indicating that he should quit while he was ahead. Cheng Xiuqin immediately walked to the stroller and picked up the baby. "Baby, are you hungry? Come, Grandma will take you to drink milk." Before he left, he turned around to look at Su Yiyan and gave him a critical blow. "They're right. We do need to push them a little. When I gave birth to you, I couldn't drink even if I wanted to. You should drink more." "Mom, you really are my biological mother." The temperature on Su Yiyan's face, which had finally cooled down, rose again. Her head hung low as if she was autistic. Hua Chenhuan saw her embarrassment and said in a clear voice, "You all go ahead. I'll be here." Uncle Zhang looked at one person and then the other. He tactfully asked the others to leave, leaving the two of them alone. After they left, Su Yiyan's expression finally improved. Just as she was thinking about how to ignore those things, Hua Chenhuan couldn't help but say, "Uncle Zhang and the others have good intentions. Don't waste it. It's some." After she finished speaking, a big bowl of soup was pushed in front of Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan looked at it carefully. It was the bowl of crucian carp tofu soup that was originally placed the furthest away from her. "Su Yiyan, can I hit you?" Chapter 782. Su Yiyan spent her first meal back home in shame and indignation. She didn't even know what to eat. However, someone didn't know what to do. As soon as they finished eating, he threw his son to the child's grandmother and rushed into the bedroom excitedly with Su Yiyan. At that time, Su Yiyan didn't realize that there was a wolf sitting next to her. She pinched her soft belly and was worried. The little guy was out, but her belly didn't recover so quickly. Thinking about her thin waist before she was pregnant with the little guy, and then looking at the little chubby belly now, Su Yiyan was very resentful. "Why are you sighing? Who made you unhappy? Who else could it be other than you?" Su Yiyan glared at Hua Chenhuan angrily. It was this guy who forced her to drink several bowls of soup just now, causing her belly to be full of water now. Hua Chenhuan knew what she was angry about. Without thinking, he said, "Well, I was wrong. Don't be angry. It's not good for your health." Su Yiyan felt like she had punched cotton. Not only did she not calm down, but she was even more depressed. "You're always like this. You apologize whenever you do something wrong. Don't you dare next time." Hua Chenhuan touched his nose a little guiltily and said embarrassedly, "This time I really don't dare." Su Yiyan stared at him suspiciously. Obviously she didn't believe his words. Seeing this, Hua Chenhuan had to try his best to prove his feelings. He said sincerely, "Really, I won't force you to do anything you don't like in the future. You said so before. Didn't you regret it today? I'm just curious." Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. "Curious about what?" "Curious about whether those soups are really useful." Su Yiyan was stunned for a few seconds before she realized what he meant. The expression on her face suddenly froze. She looked at him in disbelief. You, I didn't expect you to have such a husband. I was wrong about you. After Huo Chenhuan finished speaking, she seemed to realize that she was asking for a beating. She hurriedly tried to salvage the situation by saying, I was thinking too much. If you don't have it, then don't have it. Anyway, our baby doesn't lack the money for milk powder. It would have been better if Huo Chenhuan hadn't said anything. Once he did, Su Yiyan's face turned even redder. She glared at him angrily and turned her back completely, refusing to talk to him. Realizing that she had caused trouble again, Huo Chenhuan hurriedly continued to apologize and coax her. After coaxing for a long time, Su Yiyan suddenly asked, Do I look ugly like this? She had just given birth not long ago. Her belly was still very obvious and her face was still round. Her looks seemed to have been pulled down quite a bit. Of course, only Su Yiyan thought so. Huo Chenhuan couldn't keep up with his wife's thoughts, but he still said without thinking, No, in my eyes, you will always be the most beautiful. In his opinion, Su Yiyan was also good-looking before, but she was a little too thin. She looked as if she would be blown away by a little wind. Now she was just right. She was a little meaty, not too fat or too thin. She was soft when he held her, and he couldn't bear to put her down. If you have time to think about nonsense, why don't you do something serious? Su Yiyan's whole body trembled. She suddenly had an ominous premonition. Something serious? What is it? You drank so much soup last night? I don't know if it's useful. Let me check for you. What? Before Su Yiyan had time to protest, her mouth had been blocked by Huo Chenhuan. After that, she didn't have a chance to protest. Chapter 783. Su Yiyan had just given birth not long ago, so Huo Chenhuan naturally couldn't do anything to her. Even so, the next morning Huo Chenhuan was kicked out of the door by Su Yiyan, and he was banned from the bedroom for a month on the spot. Huo Chenhuan, who was kicked out of the house the next day. He regretted it very much, very much. During Su Yiyan's 1-month confinement period at home, she had more to do than when she was pregnant. Cheng Xiuqin reminded her several times, emphasizing that a woman must recuperate well during her confinement period after giving birth. Otherwise, it would be easy to leave a lasting illness. Huo Chenhuan attached great importance to this matter. After hearing Cheng Xiuqin's words, he was even more nervous and didn't let Su Yiyan do any heavy work. As a result, in the following month, Su Yiyan ate and drank every day, but the fat on her stomach didn't go down at all. During this period, Su Yiyan also received a lot of congratulations from her family, friends and company employees. After Ling Xiaoqi learned that Su Yiyan had given birth, she went to the hospital to visit her once. Now that she heard that she had nothing to do at home and was very bored, and the two of them lived close to each other, she came to accompany her. Little star, I'm your Auntie Xiaoqi. Call me auntie. Su Yiyan looked at Ling Xiaoqi, who was standing beside the stroller and playing with her baby for a long time. Even if she didn't get any response, she couldn't bear to leave. She felt helpless and amused. He's only been born for less than a month. How can he speak so early? Moreover, my baby doesn't even know how to call his parents. How can he call you auntie first? Ling Xiaoqi turned to look at Su Yiyan and said with some pride, That's not necessarily true. Children are very smart. If you don't teach him to call you early, he might really call me auntie first in the future. Su Yiyan laughed. You like my baby so much? Who wouldn't like such a soft cub? Especially since this little cub was especially well behaved. It didn't cry or make a fuss. If you teased it for a long time, it would suddenly smile at you. That smile would make you go soft. Su Yiyan's eyes flashed and he said with a smile, Since you like it so much, I'll allow you to have a daughter in 4 years. When that time comes, our Zai will give priority to your family. Ling Xiaoqi. Thank you so much. You're talking as if your son is choosing a concubine. Why must it be within 4 years? Because after 4 years, my baby will be suspected of being an old cow eating young grass. Ling Xiaoqi. Should I praise you for having some self-awareness? While the two of them were busy bickering, a figure suddenly walked over with several plates of fruits and pastries in his hands. After talking for so long, you must be hungry, right? Didn't you say you wanted to eat strawberries? They were delivered today. I just tasted one. It's very sweet and not sour. You should eat more. Ling Xiaoqi sat opposite the two of them. Listening to Huo Qinhuan's fawning coaxing, she almost couldn't help but burp. This public display of affection really didn't give a single dog any way to survive. Looking at the exquisite pastries and fruits placed in front of her, she suddenly didn't know what to eat. Sob, 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 she felt that she was being abused so badly. Su Yiyan wasn't so easily bought over by these plates of fruits and pastries. A certain someone's ban hadn't been lifted yet. Any show of goodwill at this time would be regarded as impure motives. I'll leave it. I'll eat it later. Su Yiyan paused and said, I have something to say to Xiaoqi. It's not convenient for you to stay here. Go back to work early. Especially cold, especially ruthless, especially arrogant. Chapter 784. When Huo Qinhuan heard what she said, a hurt look flashed across her face. She nodded like a little wife, and before she left she didn't forget to remind her, don't be angry, I'll leave now. Remember to eat, it's good for your body. Not only Su Yiyan but even Ling Xiaoqi, an outsider, couldn't help but feel pity for that pitiful look. Did you quarrel with your husband? Why do I feel like your man is being wronged and trying to get on your good side? As if waking up from a dream, Su Yiyan secretly cursed a certain someone for being so scheming. She actually deliberately acted pitiful in front of Ling Xiaoqi to force her to give in. I worked so hard to give birth to a chubby baby for him. Shouldn't he be trying to get on my good side? I just asked him to bring me food and he's being wronged? I used to cook for him every day. So, you're being spoiled because of the baby? When Ling Xiaoqi heard this, her face was full of indescribable emotions. She stared at Su Yiyan as if to say, I didn't expect you to be such a person. Su Yiyan, who was immediately put in the black pot. That trash of a man set me up. It's not that I want to say this, but there's a limit to acting spoiled and being unreasonable. Data shows that many married men cheat on their wives when they're pregnant or shortly after their wives give birth. On one hand, their wives' pregnancy can't satisfy their physical needs. On the other hand, their wives are emotional during pregnancy. In layman's terms, they're more pretentious. Some men are unhappy at home, and it's especially easy for other little white flowers to take advantage of the situation. Once they're together, it's impossible to stop them. Su Yiyan? According to what you're saying, am I acting spoiled now? Or am I being unreasonable? Of course, I'm not saying that it's not good. What's wrong with a wife being a little spoiled after 10 months of pregnancy? Those who cheat during pregnancy are all scumbags. I'm just reminding you not to torment others too much. Look at your man. He doesn't even mind that you're old after giving birth. He doesn't go to his big company and serves you at home every day like you're his ancestor. You're still so noisy. I can't stand it anymore. How many benefits did he give you to make you betray him so quickly? You've changed, you're no longer the little angel who always put me in charge. What benefits can he give me? I'm on the side of reason, not family. Strictly speaking, it's for your own good. If I really drive her away, won't you come crying to me? Su Yiyan cried, you dare to raise such a vicious flag? I suspect that you're a spy sent by my opponent to curse me. Also, what do you mean by old and yellow? Are you saying that I'm ugly now? Ling Xiaoqi was stunned. She looked at Su Yiyan from head to toe and said sincerely and tactfully, no, you're now exuding the radiance of motherly love. You're so shiny, so bright. Su Yiyan? What the F***ck is this motherly love radiance? Su Yiyan was full of ambition, but Ling Xiaoqi's words shattered it into pieces. She was in a trance. When Huo Qinhuan came down from upstairs, Ling Xiaoqi had already left. Yuan was wearing its little apron and walking around, busily making milk for the baby. This care-type robot was only responsible for cleaning the house and trimming the garden since it entered the house. It was really a waste of its talents. Now that there was a baby in the house, its series of functions could finally be put to good use. These few days, it was so busy that it no longer had to worry about its skills rusting due to idleness. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.